Welcome to another episode of Two Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally. And today I'm so excited to have on a 52-year-old, a 52-year-old from Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. His hockey journey has taken him to Canada, the USA, Denmark, Italy, England, and he is a legend of Deutschland, Germany, folks. A staple and legend also with the Bramalea Blues, once putting up 44 goals in 43 games. Before moving on to university and running a muck at St. Mary's, putting up 189 points in 103 games, and winning league MVP. He then went to pro and continued dominating, putting up the most apples in the league with the Daytona Beach Sun Devils, not to be mistaken for the Daytona Beach Bombers of Ohio. He then decided to spread his hockey wings in Denmark and embarrassed all the little Danes and the other players, putting up 102 goals in 84 games. He also dominated Italy after that for fun, before finding a home in Bietigheim and helped them get promoted to the second league after a 131-point season. Once the Steelers were in the second league, he then let that league know what's up for 5 seasons, with a brief stop in Düsseldorf in the DL in the middle. But he is one of the Steelers' all-time greats, putting up 383 points. That is 383 Punkt in 209 and 30 Spielen. 239 games, folks. Earning his way to the rafters so no one can ever wear number 19 again in Bietigheim, Germany. Welcome to the shed, Craig Teeple.
Thank you, Wally. That was quite the intro. I will correct you on one thing.
Oh dear.
No Mississauga. I was born in Mississauga, but I'm a Bramalea boy.
I totally agree with you.
We take that very seriously, Bramalea.
I get that, because it says I'm born in Georgetown, but I grew up in Elmira, right? And I ain't a city boy too, right? So I don't want that. I don't want people thinking that, I'm not from the city, but I get it. Bramalea. So you played for your hometown team then? I played for Elmira too. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in. It's probably the same in Elmira. Like when I grew up in Bramalea, it was like Friday nights as a kid. You played for, it was Chinguzi hockey back then, the minor hockey. But Bramalea Blues Friday nights. That's what you did. You went to the Blues games, and it was just a thing to do, right? So that was the dream, right? That was like where your hockey career was going to stop.
You're absolutely right, though. I was a Sugar King fan, and it's interesting because I watched a couple of they were like my heroes growing up, and then they also went NCAA and then to Germany, and I followed suit.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it gives you aspirations when you see other people make it out of your towns too, right?
100%, yeah. Yeah, we had a few NHLers out of Bramalea, so yeah, it was something. But again, it was like the Blues was the epitome of what you wanted to do, right? Yeah. When you're 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and it was cool when we played for Chinguzi hockey. So there's Chinguzi and Brampton. It's all Brampton now, right?
Okay.
But it was Bramalea, Brampton, but the Bramalea minor hockey was Chinguzi. So so Friday night was the Blues games. Everyone and their mother would go there. And then Saturdays you'd start with the novices at 8 a.m. Yep. If we were playing Burlington, or if we were playing, Kitchener, or if we were whoever, the novice team played Kitchener, and then the minor Adams, major Adams, and it would be all the way to midget every Saturday.
Every Saturday, really?
So you'd just stay at the rink, right? Because my younger brother
and
would
everybody
play,
would be supporting each other. My cousin would
play. The dads were out in the parking lot getting tuned with their pints. Like it was like the thing to do. Right?
That's still a
Blues
thing.
game Friday, Saturday it was a great way to grow up. Yeah. So
it's interesting. That was
fun.
We don't have that nice of a schedule where it's like that, but in this town, people do go support the other age groups, and every age group I go to now that I've lived here long enough, I know kids on every team, and it makes you. I like watching people I know play hockey.
I watch hockey all the time. That's what I do, right?
You're a hockey nerd too, eh?
Hockey nerd, yeah, through and through.
Well, I get into how we know each other. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you as well, buddy.
But the way you came up was I was having a Bietigheim Steeler on Renee Schofs, my former Mittelstürmer, my centerman, that is getting his jersey retired, and he invited me over for it, and I can't make it work, so I had him on.
I just listened to that podcast today.
Yeah, well,
I did, yeah.
it breaks my heart I can't be there.
Yeah.
But it brought back so many memories of Bietigheim. And when I was looking
Yeah.
at the retired jerseys, um, well, I guess 3 of them are my buddies that I played with, and then there was one other name. I'm like, huh,
Yeah.
wonder who
Who's
that
that
guy
guy?
is. But yeah, I know a lot of the people you played with, which is strange because I did live in
Yeah,
that town, and there are hockey players, right, that go over to Germany that may be Canadian, and then they find love and never leave.
absolutely. Yeah, no
Yeah.
doubt. It happens.
My coach that I saw you played with, was one of them was Danny Held. May he rest in peace. He was a beauty.
God bless Danny. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He was. He was. He was one. I think he was like 10 years older than me when I was there.
Yeah.
And so he coached you.
Yeah. He came in when they fired the guy so we won it. We had a huge budget. Budget goes
Yeah.
way down. We suck. They fire that coach and then bring in Danny, who was coaching like the juniors. And then we ran amok the rest of that season and went from like the bottom and ended up making the pre-playoffs or whatever. And then they kept Danny around for another year, and he did retain my services. So, thank you, Danny, because the next coach that came in told me to kindly leave.
He was such a beauty. I played with him, and then he was our assistant coach for the 1 year. But it was so I get there, and we had so they had made a team in Bietigheim for this. They were supposed to be in the second league. They aufstieg to go into the Bundesliga or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So they signed the team. They bought a team to compete in the second league. So
yeah.
So we get there, or before we got there, they're like, yeah, we're not going up because a team went bankrupt or something. So there wasn't enough even team. So you're going to have to play in the Oberliga again.
And you'd already signed the contract, and
yeah, the team's made. Like it was like a week or two before we got there. It was like nothing. So we get there, and we had these guys. We had Darren Ritchie, who was like the year before when he was in the WHL in Brandon, scored like 62 goals in the dub.
And now he signed up to play in the Oberliga. And I saw what your stats were in Denmark.
Timmy Leahy, who was like right out of Miami, Ohio University, like a speedy American guy. We had like this team, and it was like, now we're playing in the Oberliga, and it was like the funnest year ever because like we couldn't lose. It was like
winning's fun, right? Yeah,
yeah, and the fans of Bietigheim were like unbelievable fans, like the best, right? So you're killing teams, and like you're like superstars. It's
right.
Like, it was unbelievable. It was the funnest year I've ever had in hockey. And we outstayed like or whatever. I was like, no, it was great. Yeah. So we weren't the Deutsche Meisters, but we got them up to the Bundesliga. Yeah. So it was fun.
So did you win a championship then that year in the Oberliga?
Yeah. So you technically no, but yes, I'll call it a championship. We partied just as hard.
Yeah.
No,
but it's interesting hearing that because we were in the second league, and they were trying to go to the DL, and they signed a team that could compete in the DL when I was there. Yeah. And my first year at Bietigheim, we dominated everybody, and that was in the second league, and we did win it all. And that was the same year, like Porsche almost went tits up. They lose all their money. They're not the main sponsor anymore. And then all of a sudden we don't have the money to go up. And they literally had brought in this team to go up. We do what they ask and win the championship. And then they're like, we're staying in the second league. And we're going to cut the budget big time. And then we're going to suck. And then we're going to ask you to kindly leave. But it's okay. I'm over it, right?
Apparently.
But no, that team, the first year at Bietigheim, man, our 6th, 7th D man could be like top pair on any team in the league, and it was
it was
money can do some wild things in Germany, can't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
You build teams, yeah, or they can go tits up, and then you're asked to leave. You ever on a team that went bankrupt?
No, we got threatened a few times.
Yeah.
We went on strike in Daytona Beach 1 year.
I can't believe you played at the real Daytona Beach.
Buddy, the real day, like it was.
I actually joke around about this. So that's another way we know each other. I've written down is Daytona Beach Sun Devils, because I always joke. I played at Dayton, Ohio, and I call it the Daytona Beach Bombers of Ohio. You actually played at Daytona Beach.
It seems every point in my career, like this got me reflecting, right? Like, so I'm thinking, so I'm coming on and talk to you about all this shit.
That's the point of this, yeah.
my career. Yeah, then it's amazing, right? So I'm like, all these, I'm thinking, what stories I have? I'm like, it's all I do is tell stories. Like, it's all I do. All my buddies that didn't play hockey or
Yeah.
who, like, it's just tell
Even whether they
the
want to
same
hear it or
stories, right?
not, right?
But they all love them, right? So, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking, then I'm looking back in my career, and it's like every part of my career was just like something happened, and I said, "Fuck it, do that." Like just one another way or whatever, right? So after St. Mary's, I was I got invited to the Minnesota Moose camp in the IHL, and then I went there, and they're like, "We're going to send you to the coast, go to the Roanoke to play for John Brophy, who used to be the coach of the Leafs."
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't want to go to the coast and play for John Brophy. He's a whack, like he fighter, like
I
just back then I'm 52, right? So back then it was like the coast was different than
yeah,
the
and
coast
I
is now, I'm
and
sure, right?
coaches were different than they are now, right?
100%. So I'm like, at the time, I was like, you know what? I didn't even have my hockey career was done. I wasn't even going to play anymore. Just call a spade, maybe go to law school, maybe be a teacher. I didn't know what I was going to do, but
This was right after
so
university.
right after St. Mary's, yeah, I went to the
You were
Minnesota
thinking
Moose
of
camp.
hanging them up, and
Yeah. I was going to hang them up. Yeah,
well, you were
just,
like you had like 3 points a game, and you had like 20 more than anybody else on your team.
yeah. No,
But
I
I
know,
guess,
but it was
but
just,
that people never
but
used
back
to give
then,
Canadian University credit, right?
no, it wasn't. Like I had before I went to SMU, I was playing in Bramalea, and I had an offer. I was supposed to go to Clarkson. I had a scholarship offer from Clarkson.
You call it
Um,
SMU? That's St. Mary's University.
SMU, SMU, SMU.
Gotcha.
If you go to Halifax, they'll know what you're talking about. So I was supposed to go to Clarkson, and then they pulled it or it fell through or whatever. I don't recall exactly. It was so long ago, but it fell through.
You
But
don't
I was supposed
remember
to
what
go.
happened to your scholarship at that age? That
They
have been a
kind of
big.
go like ghosting wasn't a thing back then, but it was kind of like I had a scholarship offer, and
And that,
then
and you thought it was
there was no
happening, and
cell
then
phones, nothing, and then it just got like no contact. So I was so sour, and then
oh yeah,
one of
that
my
makes
one of
sour.
my games in Bramalea, Norm McCauley, who was coaching St. Mary's at the time, he was at the game scouting, and he said, "Yeah, we want to bring you to St. Mary's." And I said, "Where's St. Mary's?" And he said, "Halifax." I said, "How come?" And if you ask Norm, if you ever get Norm McCauley and ask him, that was like right outside the dressing room. Remember, he said, "I was so sour," and he goes, "What do you mean you'll come?" I said, "Yeah, I'll come." So I
Because
went to St. Mary's.
I had it written down here, the research team. It's on the next page, but
Yeah,
I had down
it's
St.
tough to get
Mary's
research from back
University
then.
question mark, and I put NCAA question mark, OHL question mark, because when you're playing for Bramalea, the what first year you put up 40 and 39, and then the next year you put up 85 and 43, and you got 44 goals. That's a scholarship. Those are scholarship numbers.
And that's the thing. It was one of those split split decision moments that I could have stuck around and got another scholarship or the other schools I was talking to or whatever.
You
But
were just so sour how that had
I was
happened that you're just
sour,
like,
and I was like,
and you're like,
Halifax,
this guy wants me, and he's right here
he
saying he
wants
wants
me,
me.
and this and that.
Yeah.
And then you know what? It turned out, Wally, to be one of the best decisions I've ever made. Halifax, one of the best cities in the world.
Yeah. I've
I
heard
don't know
good
if you've
things.
ever
I've never,
been.
no.
The people I met there, uh, best friends to this day. And we had a good team. We weren't the best. Acadia at the time. So that was the year, if you recall. How old are you, Wally?
I think I'm 39
Okay, so
in 83 in hockey terms.
yeah, I don't go by that either. I
Yeah.
go
I
by
don't know.
age or minor band or major band or minor band. But so Paul Correa was at Maine at the time, whatever that. So it would have been, I think I graduated in 94. So it was 92 or 93 that Maine won everything. And Paul Correa was Hobie Baker,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So Acadia at the time, when I played at St. Mary's, there had Tommy Coulomb was their coach, and they had probably about 15, 16 guys from the Dub were on their team in Acadia in Sackville, Nova, or where was Acadia? Wolfville, Nova Scotia. They had this team. They were on Normie Batherson, Drake Batherson's dad, who ended up playing. He played in Straubing. I played against him over there.
I
But
said,
they were like
yeah.
stacked. And they went down after. Sorry, they won the Nationals in Canada, and then they went down and played Maine in a series because Maine won the NCAA's.
Really? They
And it
did
was
that.
like
That's cool.
Maine beat them 2-1, and they were like 3-2 games.
That's cool.
Like that's how good Acadia was at the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, obviously you had a scholarship that would have paid. I know the OHL helps out with
we
school.
worked some hockey schools in the summer and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
work some hockey schools. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So all worked out then.
Painted some houses.
It all worked out, right?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
Speaking of, I can't, how we know each other was we were going to do this last night. And then my Ripley Wolves that I went to the finals with after my pro career, I went on 2 playoff runs with them. And my last year, we went to the finals, and it was really cool because, you know, you've seen winning and what it does, like in Bietigheim. Like winning brings communities together. And this year they went into game 7 against the closest rival team 30 minutes down the road. And I hadn't been to a playoff game yet, but I went and watched them in game 7. The arena was actually like totally packed on a Tuesday night. It brought the communities together. Everybody was there. All the kids were there, even though it was a late night. And then the fellas pulled it out in overtime in game 7. And it was pretty neat. Yeah. It was pretty neat to see. Yeah. So anyways, it was pretty neat. And that was like you were saying the Friday night in Bramalea. This was Tuesday night in Ripley, Ontario. First time I've been in a traffic jam in Ripley. Seriously, you couldn't get a parking spot. It was wild. So anyways, good work, guys. You better win now, right? One more.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
May as well do her now. Anyways, where were we? I was going to bring up another way of how we know each other, unless we were going somewhere. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. Then you went to the.
We were talking about St. Mary's, right?
But, yeah.
Anyways, Kelvin Elfring. I always say shed guys know shed guys. Alfie, he came to the shed, and he's another fella that has his jersey retired in Germany, eh?
Yeah, I know. I was talking to Alfie today, actually.
See,
I listened to the podcast.
The shed brings.
I did my research too, Wally. I did my research too.
Well, the shed brings from former friends back together.
People
that's
together,
what it does. Yeah, that's the point of this.
Yeah, and I said I think I posted on the story. I shared your story or whatever, and I said maybe a couple Alfie stories, and then
why not?
Like 5 minutes later, he's like, "You better not sewer me." I'm like, "Well, you are the skinniest, fattest guy I've ever met in my life."
Is he skinny fat? I've never seen him topless.
Skinny fat. He gets bone massages.
Yeah, see, I had a college roommate that we called him Stretch, but he was skinny fat. Like he's tall and fat, you know.
But I do have a theory about that, Wally.
Okay.
It's my elastic band theory. They
don't get hurt. Is that it?
Well, you think about it. These days, like all these NHLers are so fit and their muscles are so tight. You get an elastic band and you stretch it as far as it'll go. What's going to happen? It's going to snap.
Yeah.
But if you leave that elastic band alone, it'll never snap.
No.
Ever.
No. And it can stretch pretty far. Yeah. Actually, it was weird for me because I hadn't missed a game in 10 years when I hurt my knee and missed an entire season. I had not missed one game in 10 years. And that was the hardest year of my life, was missing games and not being around the boys, you know?
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah.
You never got hurt?
No, other than I had a scope one year before the season, my knee scope, but that was a couple weeks and then you're back and separated shoulders and shit, but nothing major, right? So
no, I just had the major one.
I'd say knock on wood, but the Sunday morning boys that I skate with don't care.
Are you still skating?
And I'll still go because I'll just go to the bar after for beer and wings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why you play.
Yeah, Sunday mornings in Orangeville still.
Orangeville, where do you play? Teen Ranch?
No, we're at Alder.
Are you? That's where
Alder,
that's where my gals just went in their under-9 tournament. The team I coach. Yeah, we were just there for the Orangeville March Madness.
That's why we didn't have hockey last Sunday, because your girls.
Because my gals were running. My gals were running a muck of those other punks,
and probably skating a little better than we were.
I had a hell of a belly flop in the pool though. We stayed in Brampton, so we had water slide.
I heard that on the pod. Yeah.
Yeah, I nailed it. Yeah, for sure.
Boy.
Yeah, we did it as a team too. Yeah,
a lot of water displacement.
Yeah, it was a great time. I had a fantastic time. But Teen Ranch, you ever go there? The arena in Orangeville?
I did, yeah. Been to Teen Ranch quite a bit. Yeah.
Well, we played a game there, and one of the gals on my team was like crying because her eyes hurt because she's like, it's so cold in this arena. my eyes hurt, and she couldn't even think or play because it was so cold in that arena.
Did you tell her that we both played in colder arenas in Germany?
Krimet Chow?
Because there were, yeah, Kermachel.
That was the coldest I
Try and
found.
playing that cold and getting lighters thrown at you at the same time.
Right? So you had lighters thrown at you.
Yeah.
I had actual like glasses of
Oh,
beer in Garmisch. They were losing
yeah,
7-0, and they started
yeah,
throwing glass on the ice.
yeah. Well, when I played in Vojens, who I don't know if Vojens is when you played in Denmark, so I don't know if Vojens is in the league still.
Vojens is where I played. I was Sunderjyski, but that's Vojens.
Well, is that Vojens?
Yeah.
So did they have glass? Did they have glass in the arena then?
They built the arena onto the old one, and so you played in the old
So
one?
I played in the original. I played in the OG.
I did a lot of running and
glass.
sit-ups and stuff in that part, and it sucked.
No glass. So you're facing off and like beer, like legit. Yeah, and they were good.
They don't seem like the type of people that would throw beer at you. You know,
They
were really
exactly do
nice.
seem like they're very nice, but they're the exact type of people that would throw beer at you.
I heard that was a really loud arena. It's like a tin barn,
awesome. It was awesome. You take your warm-up jersey off, like darts smell all over it. Put your new one.
That's cool though. So I have all sorts of different generations on. You would have played. So I played at the generation where it was like they were starting to build all these new rinks, right? Like Bietigheim got a new one. Western Michigan got theirs renovated. Everybody was getting stuff fixed up. You would have played when barns were barns, eh?
Yeah, like they had so Vojens had as an example, Vojens had nothing, no glass on the sides, like nothing.
Yeah.
And chicken wire behind.
So you can't glassing out. You got to make plays.
You couldn't. You glassing out. You hit Hans taking his swig of his pipe right in the bridge of the nose. If you go glassing out.
Oh man, that would have hurt a lot of players I played against in the 90s. Yeah. So that's a barn in Denmark, but like Germany, there was some interesting barns. I thought. Did you ever play in Kaufborn?
Kaufborn, yeah.
I found that one to be interesting, you could say.
Renan was totally outside.
Renan, like in Italy?
Renan Rittersee or whatever. Renan. No. It was German. It was Germany.
Renan. I don't even know.
Italy. That. When I played in Italy, half my barn was outside, right in the sea. Like it was unbelievable. That was like the water bottles would freeze during practice. And the poor 16-year-old Italian kids with the cages with the blankets on at the end of the bench every game would freeze. Like
they would be so cold. Yeah.
So cold. Yeah.
Oh, and those, you're right. The European teams all have those 16-year-olds that just don't play
like
much.
3 or 4 of them at the end of the bench, and they're in blankets on, like they're soccer players, but
you know what I found was neat is how snus, the like German, the Swedish chew.
Might have tried it once or twice.
I might have tried it. I wouldn't like that stuff, but I thought it was really neat that the young fellas that never played started keeping snus in the Velcro of the sponsorships on their pants. You know, there's always the Velcro sponsor. So they would unvelcro and they'd have a bunch of snus in there. They just pull them out throughout the game. Good stuff. Okay. Well, Alfie, it's pretty neat that you guys have your jerseys retired. I always bring up how many of my buddies got their jerseys retired, but that must have been a special day, eh?
It was surreal, really. At the end of the day, it was just one of those things that, I mean, at the end of the day.
How long were you done for? When did they do it?
It was like a year after, maybe. It wasn't long. They wanted to do it sooner, and I was just getting my shit together back home, and maybe a year after. It wasn't long. And then
getting your shit together back home is tough too.
Yeah, no shit. I'm still doing it.
It's tough to keep your shit together and get it together.
But yeah, it was surreal. Like it was one of those things where, like as well as I do, you play over there, and the fans over there treat you like it's the NHL, right? Like they just
it is their NHL, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and they treat you so good and everything, but it's like we're just dudes from Elmira and Bramalea. Like we're nobody's. We're here because we couldn't make it. League,
no, because nobody knew who we were.
Exactly, right. So when that happens and you get that, so it was amazing because I got to bring Like I brought a couple of my buddies over. I brought my dad over. My dad played in the game.
Your dad played in your retirement game.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, that was cool. My brother couldn't come, but then I brought like
So you could bring whoever you wanted.
Yeah, the deal was I fly whoever I want over for the game. They sell out the arena and give me the money to cover the flights and everything and the party, and it was good. It was just a fun, like as you know how much fun you can have in Germany. It was awesome. Yeah, but it was humbling. It was surreal. It was
So how long did you go back over for? Like a weekend or a week or?
Yeah, it was like a weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, because it happens quick, right? So I'm going over to Cardiff for a buddy's game, and that's part of the reason why I can't go to Renee's game. But it's gonna be a weekend. It's gonna be fly in, run amok, see how much fun I can have, and then head on back tired.
Won't be hard to find.
Yeah, it's gonna be exhausting.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay. So, anyways, research team also found, we were talking about Orangeville, is you were a coach for the Orangeville Crushers for a season?
So for like half a season, so how that story goes, I ended up coaching. So I'm in Walmart, first year back. I'm in Walmart shopping in Orangeville. I lived in Orangeville before I moved to Rockwood where I am now. But I'm in Walmart shopping and I almost bumped carts with a guy. And I'm like, Chelly? So it's Steve Chelios, Chris Chelios' brother.
And you played with him somewhere?
In Daytona Beach.
Daytona Beach.
So Chelly's from Chicago. Played with him at Daytona Beach in the Sunshine League. Now I'm in Orangeville, Ontario.
And you just run into him in Walmart.
26,000 people in Walmart my first year back, and I almost crashed carts. I'm like, Chelly. It's like, Teeps, how's it going? Doesn't skip a beat. That's how the guy is. He's like, Teeps, how you doing? I'm like, fuck.
Yeah, what are you doing
Ontario? Here? I'm coaching the OrangeVegas Crushers. I'm like, what do you mean? So sure enough, he got this job to coach the Tier 2 team there. He's like, you want to coach with me? I'm like, sure, let's go. So I started coaching with Chelly, and half the year goes by, and then a good friend of mine who got me over to Europe in the first place, James Richmond, who's the head coach and GM of the Mississauga Steelheads now. JR was coaching Georgetown Raiders at the time. And he's like, he just got the job. They fired Blaine McCauley, whose brother Wes, the referee that I played lacrosse with all the way growing up. Like Wes everything McCauley? Comes together, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Me and Wes grew up together. But Blaine, his brother, was coaching Georgetown, got fired. My buddy JR got the job, calls me and says, you want to come coach with me? I said, well, I'm coaching Orangeville. He says, yeah, tell him the fuck off. Come coach with me in Georgetown. I said, yeah, that'd be. So I ended up going and coaching with JR in Georgetown for 6 years.
Really? Research team didn't even find that.
Yeah, see?
So Georgetown, and you know how it all comes back around is Orangeville was where I played my first junior B game with the Sugar Things.
No way.
Yeah, I got called up. I got called up as whatever I was in my major Bantam. And played my first game in Orangeville against the Crushers. They were junior B against the Sugar Things. And then the 1 year I was young, this was the year before I made the Sugar Kings. I went to a few tryouts just to see what other places were like other than my hometown. And I did try out for the Georgetown Raiders.
There you go. Mm-hmm. You know who else tried out for the Georgetown Raiders?
I don't.
Sidney Crosby.
Really? You guys turned him down?
He didn't try out for them. It was before my time. But they were trying to recruit him to come play there, so he came for a visit and all that when he was out east. But
really,
long story short, yeah. We tried to get my.
You tried to get Crosby to come play for Georgetown.
I wasn't there at the time, but we did try and get my.
What were they offering him? Like what was Georgetown coming up with?
Peter Mavroudis was the GM at the time there, and I think junior A players at the time in Georgetown were making like $600 a week, more than I made in Daytona Beach.
Really?
Like they were paying like some big cash. And then Crosby wanted to get out of Cole Harbor, like try and find somewhere to play. He was only like 14.
Right.
Or whatever the story goes. So
it was time to spread his wings, I guess. Yeah.
We couldn't even land my cousin Sean Monahan that plays for the Habs. And when he graduated,
what is he? Your cousin?
Yeah. It's my cousin's son. So it was like my nephew, uncle kind of relationship, but I coached him when he was in Bantam and stuff.
That's
my
cool.
first year back. But we tried to get him to Georgetown too, but he was too good as well. So it was like, fail.
Well, and yeah, to get players like that, they're going to be pretty young when you're trying to get them.
100%. Yeah. No.
So you did get into more coaching. I was curious what happened after Orangeville. So what about now? How are you into the game nowadays?
Sunday mornings, man, 11:30, Alder Green.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Skate with the boys and go to Chuck's for some wings and beer, and
right.
certain times of the year come back and watch football.
That's it. That's interesting how small the world is that we're talking about this. And I was literally just at that Chuck's Roadhouse like last week with the gals.
100%, right?
Yeah, we took the whole team there. Random. Yeah, had a great time.
100%. How can you go across the street to Shoeless Joe's and pay twice as much as you're going to pay at Chuck's?
Well, we did Shoeless Joe's one day and we did Chuck's the next day, and it was like Chuck's is way cheaper, right?
100%, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And your jersey's retired in Bietigheim, Germany, and we both in Orangeville just recently.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Small world,
right?
Everything crisscrosses in hockey, right?
It really does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where and what are you doing now?
I own a tire business with my brother. I'm living in Rockwood.
How do you get into a tire business with your brother?
So when I retired from hockey, it was one of those what am I going to do now moments, right?
Oh yeah,
we all have.
Yeah. How old were you when that happened?
Probably 35.
Okay, yeah,
probably I was 35.
Yeah, when my knee went, I was 32, turned 33. Yeah.
So you get, I mean, my oldest daughter was going to school in Germany up until grade 4. My other daughter just started school there, grade 1 or 2. My son was just a baby. And then it was one of those things where you're like, they're missing Halloween at home. Like, it was one of those moments like, I got to pull the plug at some point.
Well, then you also have to figure out what's next too, right? That's
right, 100%. So
when that's one of the things I felt is like when I first held my son and I was like, 29 years old, and I'm playing in the second league in Germany, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, shit, I got this forever. And it's like,
yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And then you start thinking like, well, what do I do next? Right.
Yeah. And then I fast forward your question, and I was at a mutual friend's dad's funeral. I think it was a dad, and this friend I had played one of my wingers at St. Mary's, and what are you doing? And he was working for General Mills, the cereal company. And he goes, we're hiring sales reps at the time. And he goes, give me your resume, I'll put it in and see what you can do. And I ended up getting a job as a sales rep at General Mills. Ended up becoming the regional sales manager for, I was there for 15 years.
Nice.
And then I got packaged out a few years ago, restructuring and shit. And then my brother has been a tire guy his whole life, and I had invested in a company. We had about 4 years ago, we had got a shop in Orangeville and got this tire company going. And then when I got packaged out, I just said screw it, and we went full bore with him and
invested and got into it. Yeah.
So that's it. Tire guy now.
Tire guy. Yeah. So it's probably not as exciting as being a hockey player.
No, it's grind though. It's a grind.
Right? Yeah.
I was less of a grinder in hockey than I am as a tire guy, put it that
way. Yeah. Well, your stats do not imply that you were much of a grinder. You seem to put up numbers in every league.
My ongoing joke is if the NHL was made in a round rink, I would have made it.
In a round rink.
Well, there's no corners.
You were in a corner guy, eh? I like to muck it up in the corners. I wasn't much of a skater, especially once
slot guy, half wall guy.
I was a half wall guy, but I also like to try and like reverse hit the guys a lot. I'd pretend I didn't see them coming and then try and see if I could knock over the big boys. But I find it interesting talking to you because like when I do look at a lot of resumes, you could call them in hockey.
Yeah.
And you're a guy that played like kind of like the Meyer Shirkings Junior B, and you never even went NCAA, you go Canadian University, but you scored in every league you were in, and you never really got a chance to really Yeah, you know
what, like where I scored. Excuse me, babe. Can you get me a beer, please? Told her I was gonna ask her that.
That's love. That's love.
Pure love. But every team that I scored on, like, got a lot of points.
Yeah.
Like, I had really good line mates.
Oh yeah. Then you
Like,
need
and I'm
them.
sure it goes like, and then there's some. If I go through my stats on over the years, like the years that I got, not a lot of points, like in Dusseldorf as an example, I was like a second, third line guy.
Yeah.
So I got like half a point a game or whatnot. But when I even at St. Mary's, I'm at St. Mary's, like we were a third, fourth place team. We had 3 guys in the top 10 in scoring in the country.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like Jared DeFazio from Ottawa 67, Steve Klutchkowski played in North Bay in Ottawa. And these guys were like, we complimented each other, right? Sniper, I was a disher, Foz was a mucker. Like, it was just those
You
guys that
need
I
a
get
little
to
bit of everything on each line, right? Yeah.
100%. So all those years that I got a lot of points, like I was never, no one would ever call me a flashy player. I was a horrible skater. I'm a better skater now at 52 than I was when I was 20.
Is that right?
Like, I just, yeah, 100%. Norm McCauley, like coach at St. Mary's, just keep me after practice and work on my stride.
And is this would
Every
be
practice.
Wes McCauley's old man?
No, this is totally different. No relation. No,
Oh.
Wes McCauley's old man was John McCauley, who used to be the referee in chief of the NHL.
Oh.
But Norm McCauley was just no relation at all,
Yeah.
just other than the same last name.
So he was always
But
working
yeah,
with your skating.
he'd keep me after and work on my skating. Yeah,
because he knew you had everything else.
He did, and it helped. And then it was like I did power skating for years after, like teaching when I retired, hockey schools and stuff. I had my own hockey school, but yeah, I was a better skater after. Like, if you ask any of the guys, you ask Alfie, like I was a shit skater. I just did what I did, I guess. I don't know. So I could see why I never had any like NHL or like it was just.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just
I'm a realist, if nothing else.
No, but some of the best players I played with, you knew that they had what you could call it a flaw, but a lot of times it was skating. The guys that you play with them, and you're just like, you're so competitive, you're such a gamer, you're so good, and it's like you just don't skate smooth enough that when those scouts came to watch,
I think that's
right?
the key. It's smooth, right? It's like, yeah, he's not a good skater, even though you get to where you got to go.
Yeah,
not even any slower.
No, you get to where and you get what you're supposed to get done, but 100%. You didn't get it done.
But it goes back, Wally, to what you said. You saw, like when I went to my first year, in that year we were supposed to be in
the second league, and
second league, and we were in the third league. So it was like it was myself, and then like I said, this kid Tim Leahy from Miami, Ohio, who, by the way, like they give you the car when you go there and everything with the sponsored on it. Yeah. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to drive that. I'm going to buy a Porsche. So he goes and buys a Boxster. First year pro. Oh, yeah, 100%. He's from Boston.
His first year pro, he's went
first year
straight
pro,
to Germany, and he buys a Porsche.
Teeps, I can't believe they're paying me to play fucking hockey. Like, he didn't care, right?
That's cool.
He's from Boston, wherever he was in Boston. Like, he had cash or whatever, right? Yeah. Like, I'm not going to drive that. I'm going to buy a Boxster. Bought a Boxster and driving around.
I remember getting paid for the first time, and I was like, I can't believe they're paying me to play hockey.
100%, right?
Yeah.
Sure, but then fast forward, you're like, yeah, I'm worth more than that.
Yeah.
Like, come on, he's making that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's the truth, right?
Yeah.
But I had Timmy Leahy, then I had Rich. Like I said, this guy scored he had over 100 points in the dub, 60 odd goals in the WHL. Like, guy was a sniper. And then Alfie on the point. It was like
Alfie was so smooth, and he was so good, man. I played against him. We came over to Belfast at the end, and I was at Cardiff, and man, he was exhausting to play against because as a winger, I just want the D-man to stand there. I want to save my energy for when we get the puck and have my guy. But he would be moving all about, and I hated it. Because I had to be on all the time, right? Or else, like, that's your guy.
He doesn't even look like he's trying, just like gangle.
But he was the lefty, and I'm the right winger, and he would always he'd just be shimmy shaking without shimmy shaking, and I'm like, just stop moving around, stop it.
Yeah, Alfie's a beauty. We had a great time together.
So you were there what, a couple of years with him? And that's
a couple of years, yeah. And then he left. I was only there. So when I was 3 years in Bietigheim, then I went to Düsseldorf. And then
came back
after my year in Dusseldorf. My agent at the time said, well, I got these offers at the DEL. So I phoned Bietigheim myself and said, here's my offers I have from the 1-year deals. I said, you give me the same for 2 years and I'll come back. And they said, okay. Like, money done, right? Like,
Yeah. And then you get to be the guy too, right?
and it was beating, it was comfortable. It was like my
Yeah.
family, like it was just easy, right?
No, I do know because
Easy in the sense from a living perspective, not that
yeah.
hockey was easy. It was just
Yeah. No, I do know what you mean though,
so then,
because that my first year there, I did have a really good year. It was like my best year of hockey, and we win the championship. And I going through that year, I did have some offers to go other places and stuff, and I did choose to go sign back in Bietigheim. One part was I thought we were going to the DL, but the other part was I knew I could play with Justin Kelly when you talk about having good line mates, whose jersey's
yeah.
also retired, and he's a shed guy, folks. But anyways, I wanted to stay at Bietigheim because, you know, it was enough money for me to be happy playing hockey,
Yeah,
and
100%.
the
Yeah.
town's awesome. The fans loved
Awesome.
me,
Yeah.
and it was like, I'm good here. I don't need to go anywhere.
Yeah. No, it was and the same reason, right? It was like I knew I was getting to the end too. Like
Yeah.
I'm not a top guy in the DEL, so they want to grind it for any 1 year contract. Or I got 2 years for the same money.
Yeah.
Comfortable city. My family was comfortable there. It was just
Mm-hmm.
yeah, no brainer kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then Elfie, yeah. So it was original genesis of your question. Yeah, me and Elfie were there for 2 years because I think he went to Straubing the year after that. I stayed for one more year beating him before I retired.
And he went to
So he
Straubing,
was gone.
and then he
Yeah.
found his home there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. He was there forever, and he's the legend there, and gets his jersey retired. It's pretty neat when that stuff happens. I find it really cool that Justin Kelly, Dirk Robel, and now Renee Schoafs, three guys I won the championship with, will now, like, nobody can wear their jerseys ever again. And it's like, geez, I played with all three of those
Yeah, it's
guys, and I
cool.
was their teammate, right? And you
Yeah,
don't
it's cool. Yeah.
retire jerseys of teams that don't play, like, aren't good, right? It's like your
Yeah.
Liga,
Yeah.
your season in the Oberliga, and then
Yeah.
you guys did well every year you're there. Like, you got to win
Yeah.
to
No,
get
it's good.
jerseys retired.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, poster picks.
Okay.
You said you had two daughters and a son, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah.
So your son's into lacrosse by the looks of the poster picks?
Yeah. So he played hockey. I coached him in the GTHL all the way up when he was younger, and then he plays junior A lacrosse in Orangeville as well now. So the hockey's done. Focused on lacrosse. Now he's down at RIT playing lacrosse.
He's at RIT.
Yeah. So we're going down tomorrow. He's in Baltimore this week. They're on their spring break trip down there playing. So we're heading out tomorrow down to Baltimore to catch a couple games, and yeah,
That's cool. So
that's cool. Yeah. He's taking
you
like
coached him in the GTHL
aerospace
though.
engineering or something. Like I'm like, what?
Really? What'd
Yeah.
you take in school at St. Mary's?
Political science, thank you.
Political science. Still don't even know what that
Exactly.
is.
Me neither.
So what position is he in lacrosse?
He's a midfielder in field.
So is it like soccer where they got to be everywhere then, up and back?
No, field lacrosse is different. So I grew up in box lacrosse, and he grew up in box lacrosse. But
Yeah.
so box lacrosse he's an offense guy, and that's it. And then they change defense guy goes on. But field lacrosse, they have middies, attackmen, and D. So they're kind of just interchangeable stuff. He doesn't play as a freshman this year.
Okay.
So they got their national.
But so he got there out of box lacrosse. How did they saw him play box lacrosse?
Orangeville's a lacrosse feeder system, right? Like it's like one of the top programs in Canada, like from a minor perspective. So there's so many opportunities for field lacrosse scholarships in the States.
Yeah.
And then he went to the Hill Academy, which is in Orangeville now. Played lacrosse there, which is a private school. Excuse me. And then yeah, you got the scholarship down there. So
well, that's cool. Good
yeah,
for
it's
him,
good, yeah.
RAT, that's New York, eh?
Yeah, Rochester, yeah. So that's
Right.
Cole, and then my oldest daughter Cassidy, she's 26. She played lacrosse growing up, more at the club level. But she's like my son's biggest fan, goes to every game, biggest Leaf fan. Like she's more sporty than anybody in our family. Like it's crazy, like yells at the refs, like one of those people,
right into it.
Like,
Competitive.
I'm like, Cass, come on, like,
Just
she gets it for me. I'm not gonna lie. And then Avery is the middle child. She actually played lacrosse down at St. Bonaventure on a scholarship.
really.
She's got her master's in education now, so she's going to be a teacher. So my kids are all growing up, basically.
Yeah, that's got to be weird,
Yeah,
eh? I'm right in the middle of it.
it's weird. It's a dichotomy, right? Because you miss some of the things you had growing up, like that you experienced growing up, like you're coaching your daughter, like it's that kind of stuff you miss, and the like I was saying before, when I was in Germany, and they like my kids never had Halloween before we came back. My kids never had Halloween. Like, we
Yeah.
did Halloween for them, right? Like we'd have the
Yeah, but it's
imports
not the
and
same
people. It's
as
not the same, right? So it was
no.
like those little things, and so now that all that stuff is done, but now I live in Rockwood with my girlfriend, her two daughters, and they're 14 and 12. So I kind of get to relive a bit through them as well.
Yeah.
They both play soccer. I go to their soccer games and stuff. So it's fun that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, life's good, man. Like I have no regrets on anything, and everybody's healthy and happy. So it's good.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, the parenting and stuff's busy when they're younger,
Dude.
right? It's busy times. You know, you gotta mix in time for yourself. So I don't leave the house. I just go to the shed, you know.
Well, yeah. My dad has a shed. I love it.
Oh, the sheds are important, folks. Okay, next poster pick. Actually, no, sticking with the lacrosse pick. You guys have a really little dog, eh? That was a really little dog. It looked cold out, and that was a really little dog in the photo.
That's I gotta look at the poster pic. I think that's my daughter's dog.
I was wondering
Is
if
it
that
the
was your
lacrosse
dog,
one?
right? I was wondering if that was your
No,
dog.
buddy.
That's a little dog.
Look at the size of these two dogs.
Yeah, those are full-size dogs.
That's 90 pounds and 55 pounds. Right
Yeah,
there.
okay.
Those are my dogs.
Yeah. No, I was just curious.
Yeah, my daughter's got two Chihuahuas, and she brings them everywhere. I'm pretty sure.
Really? And they like bark all the time and stuff? They yappy?
I don't live with them.
Yeah.
I don't live with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think she's bringing them to Baltimore because I'm going with my
so
family.
Baltimore
here.
is probably 9 hours from you.
Just under 8.
Oh, okay.
Just under 8. But I told my girls, because like I said, they've been to. I haven't been to one of his games yet in Rochester. It's just shit happens and I work and stuff.
Yeah,
they've been to every game. Like they go to
every game.
Every game.
Every game. Like they don't work.
Game.
What are they doing?
Yeah, they work, and it's just like
they still make it.
Weekend, yeah. It's like
that's a good family. That's a tight family though that they're doing that.
No,
that's cool.
Is. Yeah, no, that's for sure. They love their brother and support him. And,
that's cool.
But yeah, she brings those dogs everywhere. So I'm assuming she might be bringing them to Baltimore. Right. I don't know yet because I told them they can stay in their hotel. We'll see what
happens. Okay, next golf pick. It's 3 fellas. Someone's holding the golf ball in the middle.
That's my dad. He got a hole in one
while you're golfing with him.
So it's a true story. So we buried my grandfather, my mom's dad, not my dad's dad. So that's me, my dad, my brother, my dad in the middle. We buried my grandfather, who was just shy of 101. We buried him on like the Thursday, I think. So like a couple days later, we said, let's go play.
Yeah.
So we're on the second hole. And my brother is like, remind me to tell you a Bietigheim story about my brother after this. But my brother's the furthest thing from I had a feeling guy. Like he sits in his garage, puffs a couple dubs, drinks his pints, watches hockey.
Yeah.
He's a tire guy. That's what he does, right? Yeah. So my dad's teeing off 2 days after we buried my grandfather. And he says to me in my dad's backswing, I had a dream last night that one of us gets a hole in one today. My dad hits the ball, drops on the green, and rolls. Swear to God, rolls in. We jumped around like it was like that's the picture. Yeah,
that's crazy.
It was crazy, crazy. Yeah.
Right after that, burying him.
Yeah,
too. That's wild. Yeah,
it was unbelievable. Yeah.
Huh.
Especially my brother saying it because he's the least person that you.
I really like when people put some thought into their poster picks, and then when I ask questions like that and I hear a story like that,
you asked me, you said stuff that means something to you. And,
well, that's what
So we'll try it.
Yeah. Sometimes I got to Google the pictures because the guy just can't find the time to look up photos, But okay. Next one is you and your gal all gussied up, looked like a night out there. So that's your girlfriend then. We haven't heard a love story in a while.
Susan, love story. Yeah, we've been together 1.5 years, almost 2 years. best thing that happened to me in a long time. Welcome, like her and her girls, welcome, like I'm like, we're family, right? So it's awesome. That picture, funny story, it wasn't that picture, but a guy, me and Susan were in New York City, November maybe. So a guy from Denmark reaches out like on Facebook Messenger and says, "Are you the Craig Teeple that played in Gentofte, blah, blah, blah?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Oh, I'm doing a thing. Do you mind answering a few questions and send me a picture, blah, blah, blah." So I said, "Yeah, no problem, whatever." So he asked me questions and I answer it. And so he sends me the link for this magazine article, online magazine. So I get the picture, and the picture I had sent him that's not on this. So that picture is, so Monahan got married this summer. So that was the Friday night festivities they had at Gretzky's winery. And then they had at another winery, the wedding the next day. So I had sent them this picture of the next day. It was me and her, and she's in a dress. I'm like in a suit, big mansion behind us. And I sent this picture. I'm like, holy fuck, these people in Denmark are going to think that's our house. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
I made it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. So
again, I no, you know what? We're not gonna forget this. You told me to remind you of a story of your brother in Bietigheim.
oh yeah. I got two Bietigheim stories. One about Elfie and one about my brother. Which one do you want first?
Hey, wait, go with whatever feels right.
Okay, so I'll go with my brother first. So I can't remember what year it was, and so Danny held, God rest his soul, like you said. So he had, I don't know if Danny's Bar and Grill was still there when you were there.
No, he told us about it all the time, though.
So if we had
he was so
home
proud
game,
of it. He was so proud that he had done that, and he would
Wally,
tell us about
he
the
should have
wings.
been.
Man, I had
been.
never had
I
any
didn't-
good wings in Germany, and he was
I don't
telling me how
care.
he did it right.
I don't care about the wings. That
Well,
bar was like
it was the place
if we had
to
a
be.
Sunday, if we had a Sunday 6:30 home game,
Yeah,
as you know, right? It's 6:30.
you could
If
run
it was a home
amok
game,
all
because
night.
Mondays were off,
Off.
we would come home. We would end up, so all the fans would come, and it was a tiny place. I would show up home at 10:30, 11 o'clock the next morning, because when everyone left the bar, we would go down into the cellar part of the bar and play cards till like 10, and he just feed us beer. Like, it was just
That's hockey.
true story. Like, it was like bonkers. So we go to Danny's after a game. So my brother and his buddy Frank, my brother Brian and his buddy Frank, come to visit me. So they're via Amsterdam. So you can tell what kind of shape they're in, like what kind of trip they're on, right?
Yeah.
So we're in Danny's, and it's jammed in there. It's a small place, and you know how many fans, like it's just jammed, and people are smoking darts, and you're like, just whatever. My brother comes up to me, he says, I'm like, what? He's like, this person over there wants me to go in their car with them. I said, who? So he points over. I said, just say no, like just whatever. So the night goes by. So we're going, I said, let's go, or whatever time it was. I said, we're going home. I said, where's Frank? He said, well, remember that person that asked me to go in their car? I said, yeah. He goes, they asked Frank, and he said he'd go. so his buddy's gone. 2 days gone.
What? This is no cell phones and stuff. You're on a European trip, and he's just gone.
Phones. I heard Alfie's, you guys talking about Slingbox and shit. Like when I was there, we had nothing. CNN, we had like nothing, like zero cell phone. I got a handy in like 99, what they called the cell phone back then.
Yeah, that's
right.
I had a little
the Nokia
one. I had the blue
like
one.
it text like
awesome.
three things to do an E or whatever. Like it was brutal, right? Like it was, but I didn't know any better. We didn't have cell phones back here at that time either.
Yeah.
So
that was
gone,
living.
like gone, buddy, like gone. So
were you guys worried?
Like well, so this as it kind of, but not really, right? It's like some fans or whatever. Like, so as it turns out, so the fans, whoever the fans were, found out that my brother was my brother. So they wanted him to be a birthday present for this girl at this farmhouse that was her birthday, wherever she was. So they get Frank. So Frank tells a story. So 2 or 3 days later, he shows back up in Bietigheim to the house. So he stayed there for 2 or 3 days, just that's it, like just pounded, like
come on,
swear to God. So he says I'm in the car, and he's baked, he's buckled, he's like, so he goes, I get in the car, And we start driving. They're all friendly, and all of a sudden they put a bag over my head. I go, what? He goes, yeah, they put a bag over my head. And he's like, what's going on? So they walk him into this house with a bag over his head and take the bag off his head. And he's the birthday present for this girl.
No.
Because
he got in the car.
Like it was like 2 days. And then when they were leaving.
Did he mention if it was just this is it? I don't know what's appropriate, but was she good looking?
No.
He didn't even know what he signed it up for.
No, yet he stayed for a couple days. So then the kicker is,
oh gosh.
So then the day they're leaving, he comes back and they're leaving the next day. So we partied the night before and now we all sleep in. So I'm racing to the airport to get him there in Stuttgart.
Yeah.
So I get him there, drop off. They get home or whatever. My brother phones me. He's like, "Yeah, you remember how we thought we were going to miss our flight?" So apparently, this girl, who was her birthday, she worked for Lufthansa or whatever, and they got there and they upgraded them to first class. They flew home first class.
Getting to play in Europe and Germany does give you memories that nobody else in the world can have. Right?
Unbelievable, buddy.
What you telling that story brings one back that I totally can't tell. Oh, here I don't think so. I shouldn't. So, anyways.
The Alfie story. We're sitting in Bietigheim one day, and he's like, "Yeah, you want to go to the Hip concert? We're playing in Cologne." He's a huge Hip fan. I love the Hip. I said, "Yeah, let's go." And our buddy Darren Ritchie, he lived in Tam. I don't know if you remember where Tam was, just outside.
I remember the name. I can't picture it.
Little village outside, right? So we used to call them. What's that movie that had the Shire, like the Hobbits or whatever?
Oh yeah, Lord of the Rings.
And there's one guy, one main character. That's what we used to call Rich, because like he never left his Shire. Like we're like, what the fuck? I'm like, this. So Alfie finds these. He goes, it's 16 euros each for the Hip in Cologne. So I'm like, he goes, Teeps. He goes, I'll drive. Bring a case of beer, which you can in Germany. You can drink the beer all the way up.
You sure can, folks.
And I'll drive, right? So
that's awesome, though. Don't get me started.
So we drive up to Cologne, which is like a 3-hour drive, maybe from Bietigheim. So we get to this industrial area. We're on maps. Like there's no phone, there's no Google, there's nothing, right? So we're reading a map, paper map. Yeah. And we're in this industrial area. I'm like, fuck, Alfie, this isn't where we're supposed to be. Like, this is not right. He's like, well, it's got to be. I'm like, look at that place over there. This is where it's supposed to be. So we go up to this little kiosk, and we're like, is it Tragically Hip playing here? Like in German. Yeah. Like 15 euros. So we give them our 15 euros, and we go into this like a warehouse, a small warehouse kind of place, but it's got a bar, and there's a band playing on a stage. It's empty. I'm like, buddy, we got duped, man. Like this is fucking Tragically Hip. So we went and sat on a couple pub tables right at the front, like right beside the stage. Next thing you know, people start pouring in with Canadian flags and stuff. And we're like, maybe, right? So backstory to this, when Alfie was at Colorado College, he was going to a festival one summer and they were driving down the road. I don't know if he said this story. I don't think he did on the podcast. They were driving down the road to this summer festival in Colorado, and they see a bus on the side of the road, and they drove by the bus, and Alfie goes, that was the Hip. It was in the 90s. Like, again, there's no GPS, there's nothing. So they pull over. Sure enough, it was a Tragically Hip. So they said, we're going to your show, follow us. So he ended up partying with the Hip all day.
Really?
Said, yeah, here's some passes or whatever. So now fast forward 8-10 years to
now we're in Cologne, Germany, and you're sitting at the tables right at the front.
So now the hip comes out, and it's packed, and we're sitting like as far as you are from your camera. That's Scored Downey and the boys, right? Like playing, and we're like, and I'm hammered because he drove me, and I'm drinking the beer. So,
yeah.
So during the show, this guy comes up to me and he goes, he's got a media pass, what looks like he's got like a placard thing. He goes, and he starts saying, verkaufen 20 Euro, 20 Euro. And I said, no. I said, he goes, backstage. He wants to sell me this for backstage pass. And I said, I'm not going to buy it. But I said, that guy probably will. And I pointed at Alfie. So he walks over, and I see them like, blah, 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 blah. Sure enough, Alfie gets his pass. So the show finishes. Amazing, like unbelievable. Like we're 5 feet from
That's cool.
the hit playing. Like it was so surreal, so cool. Like that, one of the best memories of my life. Show's over. Everyone's leaving the bar. Elfie walks over. So there's a big black guy standing there at this door. We're in like a warehouse thing, not a concert venue. So he goes over, shows the guy this
The passes.
badge. The guy opens the door for him. There goes Elfie. Like an hour later, he comes out. I'm just still drinking beers by my place is empty. He comes out. So he went in and reminisced about his story, the Colorado College thing, and all that, right? So he's like, "Here, go back." I'm like, I don't want to. Like, what am I gonna do, man? You just went back in the black guy. There's just three of us in the bar. The black guy, the big black guy, like this, and now he's going, "Go back." And I'm like, okay. So I put it over and I walk over. Buddy looks at me like this, and I'm like, eh. He goes, "Yeah, go ahead."
So you went back there with them.
So I went back by myself. Alfie stayed out, so there's only one badge, right?
Oh, right.
So I go back, go down. He's standing there, like I'm an idiot, right? And I walk up. I'm like, he's talking to somebody. He's like, "Hey, man, how you doing?" I'm like, "Awesome set, man." He looks at me like, "Yeah, thanks."
Yeah.
I laugh.
Good one.
Like, yeah. Attaboy, Smoothie.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night. Big gulps, eh? Well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Those are memories, right? That you
Yeah.
just, that stuff doesn't happen when you just,
No,
yeah.
if I was just a tire guy my whole life, that shit doesn't happen.
No, it's like the time that that people I knew came to Germany and then they they tested out those what's I guess it's called the red light district, right? Like,
yes,
yeah. So like, and then like when people, from back home come over and try those things out, and then you have those funny giggles when you get back home and you're like, yeah. I was there with you. I saw that.
And they're like, "Yeah, I didn't know."
Yeah, and that you don't tell anybody about. And then they head back home, and
Oh God.
yeah. Lisa and I have a couple funny memories of friends
Yeah.
that came over to
Yeah.
visit.
Absolutely.
That's all. Good stuff.
Oh.
Okay. Poster picks, I think we're on. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are.
Okay. So your retirement game, the one with you and Alfie, and then there's two other fellas. Who were those guys? Is
that is
Richie
Darren Ritchie and Tim Leahy, yeah.
Figured it was those two guys. I mean, the research team
that's
saw
who it
them a
was.
bunch. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was like your line, and then Alfie's up top on the power play, or what?
Yeah, they called us so again, there's no Netflix didn't exist back then. Like there's nothing. So they called us the RTL Sturm line. So RTL is the German TV station.
Oh.
So
right.
that was the Richie Teeple Leahy. It was we were the
know
RTL.
what
Like every newspaper I know the RTL Sturm line.
Yeah. So the newspapers didn't call us this. It was mainly me, but Justin and I were big and little sexy.
Yeah, I heard the pods. Yeah.
Yeah. We the fellow started calling us
you were
that.
little?
I was the little sexy. Yeah. He was like 6'4". Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, that game must have been fun, eh? So it was, you bring back a team, and did you play awesome. The current team?
Yeah. So I made my team of so if there was guys that were on the team that I played with me, I think, but I brought back guys that were playing elsewhere. And then we played the current team. And then it was cool, like at 1919 of the third period.
Yeah.
And they put 19s up all over the board.
Yeah.
And then they had the refs bring out trays of beers and stuff. Like it was just cool. Like they did it right.
You know what's interesting is yours would have been the first time they did that. I was on Dirk Robel's team.
Did they do that as well?
Yeah, it was 4-4-4-4. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
44. Yeah. And that was a fun night.
I bet, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, Dirk was a good kid. He was just a kid when I played with him, like
right. And I was.
And then Renee.
Oh boy, did you just? We got the internet back on, folks, but we were talking about Renee and Dirk and the two fellas I played with that were all Dirk, I guess, right? Because he was just a young punk. So my story with him is he was on our team. We win the championship. And then the next year I get hurt for the whole year. But I was there all year. And then he retires and is done and is transitioning, but he still lives in Bietigheim. So then we sign a bunch of young kids, and Dirk's my age and still lives in town, but doesn't play on our team. So I hung out with him as much as I hung out with my teammates, right? Because,
Yeah.
so
Absolutely.
yeah, he was one of my best buddies in Bietigheim, and he was a beauty,
Yeah, he's a good. Well, I never got to know him as a beauty because he was just a young, polite kid. Like,
right. Yeah, he would be polite too.
percent.
Holy moly, your internet is sucking big time. He's got a new beer. Hopefully his internet keeps going. Right. Anyways, yeah, he would be a polite kid. That's who Dirk is. Dirk's a nice, polite guy. Yeah. Anyways, what's weird for me is when we talk about all these fun nights, and I couldn't go to Justin Kelly's retirement game, which I was invited to, and I should have been there because we were big and little sexy, and that season together though did help my career. Like having that year of those numbers and winning a championship and doing it with him, like that helps my career, having those numbers that year. And I should have been there for him. He's one of my best buddies, but I had my own night in Cardiff, so I had to go there. But to think of the two of us having a night the same year, and now Renee's having it the same time as Josh Batch in Cardiff. It's pretty interesting that twice I've been invited and I can't go, but sorry, right?
Life happens.
Right. Anyways, Ken du sprechen ein bisschen Deutsch then?
Ich können immer noch sprechen ein bisschen, ja.
Ah, du vergessen nix, oder?
Ich habe nichts vergessen, nein.
Oh, du arbeiten bei dein Deutsch?
Keine.
Nein. So you just remember it.
I just remember it, yeah. I surprised myself because it's been 18 years.
Right. And I know.
But
and
once it's just there.
Interesting small world here then is the first time I really spoke German after leaving Germany was in Orangeville, Ontario, at a lacrosse player's house. Ali Ruzak, I don't know if you'd know her, married Carl Hudson, shed guy that I played with in Cardiff. I went to their wedding in Orangeville, and they had played in Germany and brought their a couple friends over from Kaufbeuren, I believe it was. And I told those people that I did not know English. I only knew German, so I could practice, and we only talked German all night. That was in Orangeville.
You know what? It's your old Orangeville, OrangeVegas. My girlfriend's youngest daughter, one of my bonus daughters. I always speak German to her she's 12, but she wants to say like just Dankeschön, bitteschön, and I'll say stuff at dinner table and stuff and she always asks. So, but I over the years, it's there. If I want to speak it, I'll speak it. And I'm sure I'm fucking it up like I did before, but putting the verbs in front of the nouns and all that shit. But yeah, I don't know why it's there. My daughter went to school there till grade 4, my oldest, and she can't speak a lick.
Is that right? It never stuck with her, eh? She would have been doing it then.
Too. She was a German kid, man. It was the most surreal thing in my life. Like just
talking German, eating pretzels, eh?
She would talk to us in the playground or whatever, like we're out there, and she'd be like 9-10 years old and talk to us perfect like in English, and then just turn around and say to her friend like she was a Deutscher, right? Like with the potato in the throat and everything, like just rolling the R's. It was like Jesus Christ, it was surreal, but she doesn't remember a lick now.
That's interesting. Yeah, no, and I saw
never.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I saw kids over there, like Greg Schmidt, Shed Guy, episode 3, folks. Yeah. His kids, they were speaking fluent German, right? Like his oldest made recipes, but he was perfect at it. Yeah.
And German's not like you speak it, but it wasn't a hard language to learn, right? Like
easy.
Easy
tiger.
Like Danish?
Wow, like, you're not learning Danish in a year or two.
So like what your research team didn't know I had a stint in Finland in the SM League.
Really?
Oh yeah,
When did that
I did.
happen?
So I had my second year in. So I was 2 years in Copenhagen, and then I had signed. I had signed a third year in
Yeah.
Gentofte, which is just outside of Copenhagen. So it was Hellerup was when I first year there, and then so there's
And those
another
are
story
both
for you.
Copenhagen area?
It's the same team. They just changed. So here's a story for you. So JR, my buddy that in Steelheads, he gets me over there. He's the head. He's the player coach for Voints at the time, right?
Okay.
So he gets me. He goes. So I was done. Like when I was playing in Daytona Beach, which
That's
had
funny. to say.
4 months of spring break, Wally.
I can't imagine.
So Daytona Beach. I was 1 year out of university. Daytona Beach 500 starts mid-February. So as soon as that hits, it goes all the way till April because every college in America has different spring breaks. So it's spring break for like 3 months. So we knew every
and you're
bouncer.
playing pro hockey there.
We knew I was making $400 US, living for free. We knew every bouncer in Daytona Beach, quarter cent draft nights. I had a kid on my team, Jean-Francois something. He's from Quebec. He was importing counterfeit 20s. So we would pay him $5 for a $20 US bill. Like it was bizarre. Like it was.
That doesn't sound right.
It was wrong. Yeah, not right.
No, but if it worked, it worked.
You'd buy like 25-cent drafts. You'd buy like a tray. Give the girl the counterfeit 20, and she'd give you back a handful of ones, real ones. So it was like
we're making money crushing pints.
Funny, I played in a doubleheader in that league.
Like 2 games in one day.
That's what I said, a doubleheader.
In pro.
Well, it's debatable whether it was pro, but I was getting paid.
Well, I was on Daytona Beach. That's cool.
There was 4 teams in Florida and 1 in Fresno, California.
That was the league?
Oh yeah. 4 in Florida, Daytona Beach, Lakeland, Jacksonville, and West Palm Beach. And Fresno, California.
Fresno. So you'd have to like fly over to Fresno?
We went there. We fled to Fresno twice a year, and then they would come however many times to play the loop. And I had a doubleheader. Played Lakeland. Like we played them in the afternoon and then back in Daytona at night. And like you're facing off, you're like, for real? Like fuck, for real?
Are we doing this?
Yeah. Where are we going at? Where are we going after was the bigger conversation.
Wow, I remember in the East Coast, our wildest one, it was like a makeup game in there, but it was 5 games in 6 nights. And by the 6th night, or it was an afternoon, the last one, and it was like in Johnstown. And I was like, yeah, this is absurd. Yeah.
So Daytona Beach, and then I was hanging them up. Like I said, I was gonna hang them up after school, like whatever, like just
right. And then you go to Denmark.
Then JR gets me to Denmark. So yeah, so we're in Copenhagen. Oh yeah, we're going back before the Finland. So we're in Copenhagen. So I get a contract, and it was like
that's what we were doing. We were trying to figure out how you got to Finland and win. And
so I think so it was like 18,000 US. 18,000 US was my contract. Something I think it was 18
to go to Denmark.
To Denmark from the Sunshine League. But I was going to hang them up. So during the Sunshine League that year, remember, the name Rocky Saginaw?
No, I don't think so.
Leaf legend, Rocky Saginaw in the 80s. He was like a Toronto Maple Leaf legend. He was coaching in Scotland or something at the time. Like this 95, 96. I got a phone call from Rocky Saginaw, who like he was one of my idols from the Leafs. I'm a hugely. He's like, yeah, I want you to come over for the playoff run for this team in Scotland or whatever. I was like, yeah, sorry, Rocky, I'm having too much fun. He just like, yeah, that's how much fun it was.
And it would have been spring break
for 3 months.
Yeah,
like for 3 months. You have no idea. Anyway, so then,
I got an idea.
So fast forward, JR gets me. He goes, "Oh, I got you this contract in Denmark. You're gonna play with this kid Scott Spittle, kid from Bob Cajun." So I meet Spitz. We fly over together. So our contracts, we had the same contract. It was like 16,000 or 18,000 US plus your apartment plus a car. Yeah, whatever. Let's go fucking see Europe, right?
Yeah.
So we meet at the airport. First time I met him in my life. We fly there. We get picked up at the airport. They bring us to one apartment. Maybe whatever. So the next day we're like, yeah, we're supposed to have 2 apartments. Oh no, it's just one. You guys have to live. We're like, yeah, that's fine. We'll live together. We don't know each other, like know anybody, so it's fine.
Right.
We'll live together. We're supposed to have we're supposed to have a car each. Oh no, there's 2 bicycles.
2 bicycles.
Bicycles. So you've been to Copenhagen.
There's a lot of bicycles.
Everybody bikes everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So we're like, no, we're supposed to have a car each. We'll take 1 car between us, but these are bicycles. Like we can't like
Right.
drive to the rink like this. This is not going to fly. So there's a big hullabaloo, and they have meetings and all this, and I'm like, what the fuck did you get me into? Like this is like, there's no, I'm fine, but like no car. Like what are we gonna can't? We're not bikers. Like I haven't rode I rode BMX when I was like 12, like going to the pits and shit. Like, but so they said, so a guy in the team's dad owned a used car dealership. So they said, okay, we're gonna get you a car. We got you a car. All right, we'll split the car. We'll share the car. We'll live together. It don't matter. We're just kids. So they give us this car. You remember the dinosaur, the Barney dinosaur? The Barney, the cartoon, whatever it is?
Yeah.
That color? So
Like,
it's a little hatchback, like a little Mazda 3 hatchback, that color. And it says Loan Mobile on the side. God strike me dead. Loan Mobile, which is the used car, like used loaner car. So that's what they give us. Like, because
they gave the loaner
give them that
car for
the loan, this purple Barney purple dinosaur loaner car, little hatchback thing. That was our car to share. We're like, you know what? Who cares? So we found this little place in Copenhagen called Rosie McGee's. So we got on Rosie McGee's on our days off in the afternoon, and
that was your honey hole, you could call
it. Imbibe, yeah. And then as we're walking back to the old loanmobile, we do the old hot potato with the keys, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as sorry, Spitz, you're up. So I did in the passenger seat. So we're driving one afternoon. God strike me dead. So it's Copenhagen's like streets like this, right? So we're at the end of a street, and we get out onto this street in the loanmobile, and the street is lined with people, thousands of people. We look in front, we look back. There's fucking floats.
You're in a parade.
You're in a parade for the king and queen of Denmark in the loanmobile. So we're like half into her. So we're like, we roll down the windows. We're like, giving the waves. The Danish flags are going. No, we got loanmobile on the side of this purple car. Swear to God, true story.
They got some good advertising that day.
Oh yeah, and that I like next left, like getting like we had. Yeah, that true story. Yeah.
Oh dear,
it was fun. So after that second year in Denmark, I had signed for a 3rd year.
Hey, remind me to tell you of a parade story in Germany.
Gotcha. so I re-signed in Denmark. My agent phones me, said Kalpa Kuopio in the SM Liga wants to sign you. And Alexander Kuzminski, who was my teammate in Germany that year, he was captain of the CIS team World Juniors, like he was unbelievable. So I'm like, so I went and talked to the team or whatever. Okay, excuse me. So I go play in Finland. So in Finland, you had to be there in like end of June in the SM Liga.
End of June. Yeah.
Like
I went to Bietigheim July 1st, and it was the craziest shit I've ever been a part of.
They tried that with me. The coach that Alfie came with, Bearvanger or something. He phoned me. He phoned me. He coached Alfie in the team he played on before he came to Bietigheim.
Yeah.
He brought Alfie with him. He was the new coach in Bietigheim the year after I came back from Düsseldorf. And he phoned me. He said, yeah, we want you to come July, whatever. I said, yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean you can't? I'm like, well, my contract says I start. And I was never a dick player.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm coming, I'm playing, I'm winding her down.
Yeah.
Like I'll be there in August. Like,
yeah,
my contract's when you start paying me kind of thing. So anyway, I'm in Finland, and we're in Kalpa, which is like mid to north Finland. So my first practice, I practice and I'm feeling like dog shit. So sure enough, I go to the doctor. I got mono. So I'm down for like
You got mono when you
a
go there.
month.
Oh,
First, yeah. So I'm down like a month. And these Finnish guys train like I don't train. Like they train like they're like
yeah.
machines, right?
I think
So
I understand what you're talking about.
so I try and come back. Try and come back. Um, we're in this pre-tournament in Slovenia or something. I'm still feeling like shit. The boys are partying. It's like 5-cent beers. The head coach of the team gets into a full-on fist fight with one of the players, and I'm like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like it
Yeah.
was bonkers. Then we go back. We had a couple exhibition games, and I was on like the fourth line defense pairs. And I'm like, I don't think this is like working out, coach. Like, he goes, well, you haven't played, like, and with his translator, like he couldn't speak English, and so I ended up getting bought out and going to Italy. So I was in Finland for like
Right.
call it a cup of coffee if you go somewhere
But you
important.
got bought out. But mono, if you get mono, even when you do come back, you're not going to be the player you would have been if you never got mono. And it could have all worked out totally different, right?
It could have, like, Koo stayed there for the year, but it was, I don't know if it was like when I had mono, man, it was, so we're there in the summer, so we're that high up in Finland, so like there was like 2 hours of darkness. It was daylight the whole time. So I'm trying to sleep and sweat this out. It's
Yeah.
like bright, and it was like, oh man, it was a disaster. But that
Um,
was my Finland experience.
yeah, the workouts that I've seen in Europe are a lot different than North America.
Hmm.
And I don't know what it was like in Bramalea, but I guess, and you're older than me, but when I grew up in Elmira, there was like that was when personal training was just getting started, right? It wasn't like a thing. People didn't really work out. We just played hockey and then we'd eat chicken wings and drink beer.
Buddy, that was like, it was
That
when
was
I
hockey.
was, yeah, I'm 52. It was no, there was no, yeah, it was like you bench press, you leg press, you do some curls. Like there was no. I
Girls for
remember
the
when I was
girls.
in when I was in Bietigheim, one of the doctors brought in, like, they brought in someone in the dressing room to do some like core stuff and like some planking and this stuff, and they were saying that the this is what the Olympic track team does, and that we're like fucking losers. Like we were like, oh
You
yeah, I remember
well,
it was.
you know what? Speaking of when you said you wouldn't come in July, is the guy that was there the year before when I was in Bietigheim, Alexander Jacques. I think you played with him.
Oh, Jocko, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So he
yeah.
was number 18 in Bietigheim. We played them in the playoffs. We beat them. And then they signed me instead of him. And then I wore number 18. and and then Dirk brought him back for his retirement game. And this guy was like, you mother. And he was like, you take my job, you take my number. And then we went out and played together. But anyway, speaking of that, was when the new coach came in that I had, that Jocko had in his contract, he didn't start till August 1st. And he told that coach, he's like, well, I don't start till August 1st. And I don't think that coach ever forgot that. And I guess that's kind of why I had the job in Bietigheim.
Yeah, there you
Because I
go.
would come in July, and I did, and it sucks. But we'd have fun on weekends, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You said a parade. You said a parade story.
oh, so yeah, this isn't the parade story when we won it and I cut my jeans off, right? This is a different one I haven't really brought up much. This was the first year and I was running amok. We're about, I don't know how far in the season we were, but I was doing very well. I think I might have been leading the league or something. And we'd all gone out one night, and I'm pretty new in Bietigheim. I'm only there a month or two. And then they have a parade. It's during I don't know. No, it's only during the Feder market, I think, right at the start of the year. Do you remember that?
Fair to Mark, oh yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's the parade for that. So we had been out at the beer
Oh yeah,
tent the
yeah.
night
Fair to
before.
Mark.
The
You guys
season hadn't
won the
even
fair to
started
Mark
yet.
with the,
This must be my second year at Bietigheim, maybe. I don't know when this happened, but I was pretty well in one because the boys had hit the Feder market the night before. We had a time, and then they tell us we got to be at this parade at whatever time. And then we're standing there waiting with all of minor hockey, all these other floats. We got parents and kids and our hockey team. And then there's this old country western group doing square dance and singing country songs. And I started singing some of the words, sitting there on the bench being bored. And Sarakov looks at me, he goes, "You know this stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know these songs." And he's like, "You should sing." Because the guy was singing karaoke while they were square dancing.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Well, if they got George Strait, Clear Blue Sky on there, I'll sing." And it was just an old iPod, right? I didn't think it'd be on there. So Sarah goes over and asks the guy, and he goes, "Yeah, he has it." So I did sing George Strait, Clear Blue Sky to all of minor hockey, all the parents, my team, and all the other people waiting for the parade to start.
There you go.
Yeah, I had to let Bietigheim know I was there, right?
You're there.
Yeah, it's pretty silly, but I was kind of in one for the night before, right? So
I understand.
yes. Anywho, we never did go through all your poster picks, eh? So do you think that while you got your jersey retired, I saw the picture of it up, that looked like it's at the old barn. They probably have you seen it in the new barn? Have they found a nice spot for it?
One of the fans sent me a picture of it on Instagram, like just
Perfect.
random, like yeah. So because I didn't know, right? Like it was one of those things where,
well, they
again,
moved
going
into
back
that new
to-
arena and forgot about me.
But going back, like, and honestly, in all honesty, it's like it was such an amazing experience. It was awesome. But again, when you go back to like the way we think about ourselves in the sense that we're just dudes and like,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like just,
Well,
so
to
when they
me, I
moved to
just
the
think it'd
new
be
barn,
so
I was
neat
wondering.
that like there's kids that like go skate in minor hockey and
No,
Bietigheim,
100%. I just,
and they look up and
my
they're
point-
like, who is Teeple 19? And like, I would have looked
No,
up
it's
and I'm like,
amazing.
I don't know who that guy is, you know?
My point was I just didn't know if it would be moved to the new barn. That's all.
Well, it better be.
So it was cool that it was.
You're the only
Yeah.
other retired jersey, right? I think
Yeah, no,
it has to
it's
have.
amazing. It's cool, and I can't wait to go back again. To be honest, like it's.
Are you gonna go
tell
back?
Susan, yeah, we like it's funny because Susan, my girlfriend's like, she's always like, I want to go here, and I'm like, yeah, I've been there. I want to go here, but because when you live there, you can travel so easy in Europe, right? So I've been to so many places, and she wants to go bad, and I'm like, we'll go, and we'll stop in Bietigheim, and I'll show you all these stories that I've told you about, right? Like it's.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's changed a lot, but there's so many nice people. Like my daughter, we dropped my daughter off at the kindergarten. It was right down the street in the courtyard where we live. Cassidy, my oldest, and she was 3 years old, and we literally dropped her off to Frau Stamm, who to this day sends my kids Christmas cards and birthday messages to this day.
That's cool.
Crazy, man. Like it's
yeah.
They were so nice. Like the people were so nice, and it wasn't just because I was a hockey player. Right. Maybe at the beginning,
you built relationships with
like
people there. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, so cool.
We still get messages. Cool. There's still a few.
So people. I'd love to go back and see some people. And
gosh, I really should be at Renee's game, but you know, but like it's like you talk about the memories, and like then you could see it again and bring you right back. Right, it would bring you right back. Yeah. What was your favorite restaurant in Bietigheim?
Danny's Bar and Grill. Easy.
That makes sense. Gosh, I wish it would have still been there. It sounds like it'd be mine too.
No, there's a couple. The one I listened to the pod today, the one with Renee.
Yeah.
It's not there anymore. Man, I forget what it was called, but it was new when I was there. I forget the name of it. Start with an R, maybe.
Rosnecht.
Yeah.
That was the German one downtown. He said that is
No.
It
wasn't Rosnecht. It was the other one. Oh.
Luigi's.
No.
Colombo.
You mentioned it. It was Colombo. Colombo was brand new.
Tomato
we used
soup.
We used to go party there too.
Jeepers. Was the Llama bar there yet? Probably not.
I think it was just maybe brand new.
The Llama bar was where we ran amok. That was our Sunday night go-to.
But honestly, God, Wally, we just went to Danny's because it was like he owned it, and we just
he was on your team.
Yeah, and then he was our coach. It was like unbelievable.
That would be living, and I really wish
my teammate.
Yeah. I wish when he was our coach we were better, because I could tell if we would have been good with him as our coach, life would have been the best time ever. But we just weren't good enough. We didn't have good enough players to be good that year, and it sucked. So, anywho, so was it the same night then when was the time they have the huge flag then 1998 to 2005 and it says Craig Teeple and like it's the flag that covers the whole crowd, like the big Canada flag here in the NHL. Is that when they retired jersey or is that like a normal game when you're playing?
I think that was a normal game.
Really?
I don't think it was a retirement.
That's
game.
really
It could be wrong. Yeah. So I remember that other flag they had. Like it was. I think it was a normal game they would put out.
And then the other one is that cool looking poster a guy had in the crowd, where it was the Steelers green and blue, and then it turned into the Canada flag and it had your head on it. That was cool.
I have that.
Really? How'd you get it?
The guy gave it to me at the retirement game.
That's cool. That's hockey.
Yeah. Like I literally have that flag. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
okay.
That's cool.
Geez, we've already talked a lot about my notes here. Let's see. Where should we go now? I want to know about Daytona Beach more, but what's the barn like in Daytona Beach in Florida, not Ohio?
It was a convention center. So they turned it into an ice rink, like when we played. Like it was like a convention center, like you'd see like the president speak at kind of thing. It was right there on the A1A highway, and it was, man, what a year that was! It was like,
and that's your first year pro.
Yeah, I wasn't even gonna play. I went after all the shit with the IHL and stuff. I was like, you know what? Like I'm not gonna bother. I'm not gonna make the NHL.
What were you gonna do then if you didn't play hockey?
I was gonna be a teacher or go to law school. That's what I was gonna do.
Oh.
And now I'm a tire guy, so it's all works out. But I went down there and it was like the characters. It was, oh man,
it would have been hockey.
This is the mid '90s, right? Like so, it's like there's no social media, there's no
cell phones,
there's no rules per se. Like it was just you're just living and had fun. And it was we went on strike for a game. Like there's so many stories. They didn't pay us, so Lakeland came in one day because we didn't get paid one week. And maybe it was this. We warned them the one week. We said, well, we don't get our paychecks by next Friday, we're not playing Lakeland. Yeah, you'll get them. So Lakeland showed up. We went to the rink to get our checks. They weren't there. Lakeland gets off the bus. They're walking into the rink, and we're walking out. And you knew everybody because there's 4 teams and one in Fresno. So it's like, Peeps, where are you going? Yeah, we're going to O'Houlihan's down the street if you guys want to come. There ain't no fucking game. And they're like, what? Like they drove and we didn't play the game. We got paid the next day. Like it was like, it was Bull Durham shit. Like it was crazy.
It is interesting when you talk about, there's a place I really loved playing, and there was a time, like we all weren't getting paid and it'd been a month or two, right? And like there were people with families and stuff, and they were the team was like having meetings saying like, are we striking? Like, are we going public? Are we letting the newspapers know? And it's like, and I would like, I didn't have a mortgage, I didn't have kids, I wasn't really that concerned, right? But when you think about it from other people's perspectives, and then it's like that stuff was happening quite a bit in Europe, right?
Happening in Bietigheim, man.
Really?
So who was Herr Fair still there when you were there?
No.
So he was the big man when I was there. And the first year when we were like shit kicking everybody, it was like, like take all the money. Like it's amazing. Like no question. So then when we first year my second year, first year in the Bundesliga, I can't remember when we finished, maybe 6 or 7. Like I think we still made the playoff, whatever it was, but it was like you lose a few games and it's like, yeah, I'm not paying you guys. Like, what?
Pardon?
You're the same guy. Like it was like we had always eventually got it, but the same thing. We had the meetings like, well, we won't play. I'm like, I won't play. Yeah. I had a house back in Canada. Like it's like okay. I was gonna retire. I was gonna retire 2 years ago and not play.
You're gonna not pay me? Oh, it's crazy though.
I might have did it in Daytona Beach, but not in Beach.
But it's interesting, the winning and losing and how much it can change things, because I went to Bietigheim when they had the biggest budget and we had the wildest bonuses in our contracts for back then. Was every player got 250 euros, right? Renee and I talked about it. And once we got to 80 points, every point the team got, we got 250 euros each. So win 750 euros each player, right? And we were awesome. And then the next year we don't have the depth because we didn't sign the depth players like we had the year before.
Yeah.
And then we just straight up weren't good. And I saw the fans go from loving me and the team and winning to me doing the exact same thing and playing the exact same hockey to being asked to kindly leave and nobody even cares. Winning is the opposite of losing.
100%, man. 100%.
Yeah. Well,
speaking of the Euros, I remember when we changed from.
Were you there when it was Marks?
Oh, buddy, yeah.
For God, most of my career, old,
it's buddy, ancient. But we were trying to figure out when the year it changed, because all our contracts were in Deutschmarks. We're like, are we getting a raise here, or are we going to get fucked? Like, it was like we had guys examining everything. We ended up working out better for us, but.
Well, that's good. It's interesting, the exchange rates and all that stuff, because it's totally out of your control as a hockey player. And when I went to Germany, it was like 1.8 to Canada. And like a few years later, it was 1.28. I was making like almost 60 cents less per euro. And it had nothing to do with how many goals I was scoring, you know?
I found when I played in England, it was more because the pound was worth so much, right? Like when I was playing there anyway.
Yeah. You did go there too. We haven't even talked about that, but we're going to stick in order here. So we talked about Bramalea and all that. And then, we talked about Canadian University, Daytona Beach. Geez, I have questions, but I don't know how far we should go with that. Four teams though.
Invite me over to the shed one day, Wally.
Hey, you should come. But no, it's funny because Daytona Beach, Ohio was probably totally different than 4 months of spring break. Cause we found out there was a university, right? Dayton University. Yeah. We figured out it wasn't that far from our apartments for the second half of the year. And that kind of spiced things up and made it more fun. But we had to find our own fun in Dayton, Ohio. Yeah. So you guys didn't need to, eh? Fun was there.
It was, like I said, the truth. Every bouncer and every spring break bar, Tuesday was quarter draft night on this bar, and the next, like, it was, so we knew all the bouncers, so they just let us.
And you still had 88 points in 49 games.
It was a sunshine hockey league. It was basically school for the blind. It was like,
oh, it sounded like everybody was having fun.
Either they're 100%, right? So if you like, either they're, it was fun. Like it was, my teammates were awesome, but it was fun. It was like not even.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Well,
I played a double header. Come on.
Right. No, I understand that. With my conditioning issues, there's no way I could do that. There's no way. That's 2 hours of hockey in one day, eh? Jeez. That's not supposed to happen. So anyways, after that though, you do get to Denmark, which I always find it interesting back then how guys would get over places, but I guess you knew the guy that was already in Vojens as the player coach, because it is all about who you know in hockey, right? And to get those opportunities.
So JR said, so James Richmond, like I said.
And the Steelheads, that's OHL then, right?
OHL, yeah. So he's got a cup ring with LA. He was their player development coach or skating coach when Mike Fuda was the assistant GM. They're both friends of mine. So JR went there with him. Now he's head coach and GM of the Mississauga Steelheads. But at the time he was over there and he had said, let's go. I want to get you over here. Got me that contract. So there's another story. So he gets me over there. So he says, so JR's like, when he played, he was on the Henry Carr team, in the Metro Junior League that went undefeated. He was captain of that team. Then he went to New Hampshire. He was the captain of New Hampshire. But he's one of those players that's just like a dirty, like he's a greasy hell of a, like, top point. If you hockey DBM, he's got all the stats.
But he also is playing greasy.
He's a dirty, greasy, whatever. Right? So he brings me and Spitz over, and he's JR. And he's got to be, I'm 52. He's got to be, if he ain't 61 or 62, he's 60. Like, he's a little bit older.
And he's the head coach and GM of an OHL team. That's got to be busy.
Head coach and GM. Yeah. For a while now, he's had it. He was the head coach of GM in Georgetown when I was there for 6 years, and he was at Aurora for a couple of years. So he's a hockey lifer, and he's a hell of a hockey man. Like, he's one of my favorite hockey people ever. But this makes the story even better. So he brings me and gets me and Spitz's contract in Copenhagen and Hellerup. So he says, "Tell your coach." We're playing Vojens, and back then you had to take the ferry over. There was no causeway.
Really?
So yeah, we'd take the ferry. So he goes, "Tell your coach that you're coming to see me the night before, and you'll meet up with the team bus or the next day and whatever." So we said, "Okay." So we tell the coach. Coach says, "Yeah, okay." So we drive out, get on the ferry, we meet JR, go to his house. We're playing the next day.
So, and you're in Vojens, Denmark, my old honey hole.
We're in Vojens. So we go to his house. We have dinner. We're drinking wine, have some beers in the night, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Next day, team comes. We got to play them. So first time I played in Vojens, like, smoke's just coming down. Right? Like this. Was the old barn still around? Like,
it was attached to the new one. So you would, all the nice stuff, and then you'd walk up the stairs at the end of the hallway, and it would take you out to the old barn. Yeah.
So you know how low it's like everything, right? So we're warming up, and he's like,
I couldn't believe there was like, the guys were like, "I can't. You'll see this rink." They're like, they used to play pro out here, and I'm like, "Wow, look at this
100%.
thing." Yeah.
with no glass and chicken wires. Swear to God. So
we did have practices out there.
So the first face-off. So he's spent the night with him the night before. He's the guy that got me my job. He's the player coach of this team. So we're skating around. "Hey, how you doing?" So we're facing off together. First face-off. The ref drops the puck. Wow. Spears me right in the balls. Drops me.
Opening face-off?
Opening face-off. I'm like, "You motherfucker." I chase him around the whole game, and he's like, like, oh. So this is the kind of guy he is. So when he was playing at actually, it was against Western Michigan, your alma mater.
Oh yeah.
So because Wayne Gagne.
I know the name, yeah.
So him and Wayne Gagne had this feud. So he's at New Hampshire. So he's suspended. So they're playing Western Michigan. So New Hampshire, whatever their mascot is, whatever they're, husky or whatever it is, I don't know, the mascot guy that skates around and warm up and stuff. So JR suspended. So he gets to the game. So this is back in the 80s. So he goes to the game, goes in the kid's room that's getting dressed in the mascot, some student, and he says, "Hey, you're not getting dressed in that today." Student looks, okay. He's the captain at New Hampshire. So he puts this mascot thing on and goes out for warm up. So the two teams are warming up. JR starts firing clappers down at the Western Michigan guys.
Dressed as the mascot.
And the guys are looking around as the mascot. And then he'd be going by, if you're on his team, he'd be like, "Hey, Wally, how you doing?" JR? Clapper down the other end. So the mascot's taking clappers at the other team, but it's JR. It was like, that's his mentality, right? Like, he's a great dude, just old school, has fun, but yeah. So I think that was my point.
That's a fantastic story, though. The captain of your team dressing as the mascot and taking clappers and warm up.
Yeah,
that's hockey.
The other team, yeah.
See, I don't find there's enough hockey going on in hockey anymore. Like, stuff that's funny, that like everybody just goes out and plays hockey now. It's not very hockey.
There's a reason I play hockey every Sunday morning.
Right.
It's not for the hockey.
No. Right.
It's for this.
Yeah,
it's for
exactly.
This.
And what do you think I missed so much? It wasn't the playing hockey.
100%. Yeah.
It was the hockey. Oh gosh. So Copenhagen's a beautiful place, though, eh?
I
can't believe there was no bridge, though, because that bridge I went over was the biggest bridge I'd ever been on.
Didn't exist, man.
So now every time you cross it, you have to pay, because they built it. They said everybody's gonna have to pay every time they cross it to pay this off. And I think they paid her off real quick, and now it's just cha-ching, cha-ching.
So it's the 407.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. It's a nice bridge, though. Yeah. Did you ever go to Sweden then? If it was right there, because I never did.
Malmo all the time.
Did you?
Yeah, we go to Malmo, yeah, and watch some games or just go shopping or whatever.
Yeah. No, I never did make it over there, and I should. It's when you're over places like that, you got to go do stuff, right?
Yeah, 100%. You take it for granted a lot, right?
You do when you're over there, and then when you're back, you're like,
Yeah,
gosh, I should have done this and that.
yeah.
So, anyways, the second year though, you said it's the same team, and they turned to Gentoft. That team still exists now, right? They're still in the league.
I don't. Yeah, they changed. Like, it was the same team, everything. They were just
Yeah,
called Gentofte.
yeah, I think they're called the Stars now or something. But so you played with that guy, you brought him up, Alexander Kuzminski. You had a
Alex
hundred.
Kuzminski.
You had
Yeah.
105 points, and he had 100 points, and the next guys on your team had like not even like 40. Hey,
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. Played in Denmark when I played. There was like most of those guys worked, right?
right. How's
You
your
there?
internet doing?
Yeah, most of those guys worked and shit. Like it was just now my phone's going low. I don't know that the internet went down, but I'm on data now. We're good.
You're gonna be okay. Yeah, you're just
You
a little
there?
fuzzy. Yeah, I'm okay. I can hear you. Just keep on going.
Yeah. So yeah, me and Kuz played together.
I noticed
he
that,
was
but before that though, he like played for Soviet. The league was called Soviet. So, and then
he was the captain. He defected. He had so many cool stories. He defected. He was the captain of the when the Russians went to the CIS team in 91 or 92,
that's
the World
cool.
Juniors. Remember that? He was they played as the CIS, they were called. He was the captain of that team. So he
You
after
know,
that tournament, and it was in Berlin, he defected.
really? That guy would
Yeah,
have
so
some stories.
but he's got stories of the KGB when he would come over to the States and play them, like in the junior Russian teams and shit. He'd go back home, and the KGB would come and raid his house because they would save their meal money as the Russian players, like, to give to his parents. So they'd get American dollars as meal money, and he said that we would eat McDonald's and shit and save our money and give to our parents. So our parents would hide it in the house, like behind walls and shit.
Right.
And the KGB would come in and try and find the money. Like, it was bizarre stories he told me. Yeah, he bought his parents their first TV. He's like 50 years old. And he bought his parents their first TV. He had some
That's
cool stories. Yeah.
no, he would. Yeah, I researched Steve got hot. It looked like he may have ended up then in Canada or something.
He's still here, and I lost contact with him. Last time I heard, he was living in London.
London, like Ontario, really?
Yeah, yeah. He played he was drafted by the Leafs.
Yeah, I saw that. You guys had a hell of a year. You guys must have been like
Yeah,
big and little sexy.
we're about the same size.
So then after that year, you do go. Well, I guess you did the Finnish thing, and then you end up in Alleghe, Italy. So that food would have been
Alleghe,
pretty
yeah.
good, eh?
Oh, buddy, I was right in the Alps, like ski gondola right down by the rink. It was like, yeah, it was unbelievable.
You were skiing then?
I wasn't a skier, but like it's in your contract back
Oh,
then. Like you can't ski, like literally, but you're like the rinks at the bottom of the ski hill. Guy on our team had a pizzeria halfway up the ski hill. Like it was so guys on the team that were Italian, because there's only, I think we had 5 imports at the time, and the rest were Italian guys. Half of them worked, and then a couple didn't. But guys would, so it's in everyone's contract. You can't ski
right.
for whatever reason. Like, well, the reason, but like, and so guys would like ski and like just get masked up, like everything balaclava.
So nobody would know it was
No
them
one
skiing.
cared.
Yeah.
When it's like around 600 people.
People are gonna talk.
So
Yeah.
yeah, Alleghe, and then I was there until Christmas, and then I got an offer to go to England,
Yeah,
and then
and you
jump
did.
ship.
So then that's when it was the Super League, and I heard people were paying in the UK, and then everybody started going tits up, but it sounded like there were good contracts, and it was all like imports, the whole league.
It was, so my team in Basingstoke, and we were the like bottom of the barrel. We had 18 Canadians. I was getting like 550 pounds a week. Like, and I was like, I was brought in halfway through the season. Like you'd go to Manchester and there'd be 18,000 people. Like it was like toe to toe fight, like double minors for a toe to toe fight. Like just guy could get a hattie and go to the booster club after. The fans didn't want to talk to the guy with the hattie. They wanted to talk to Darren Hurley that just got into two toe to toes, right? Like it was
Yeah.
a throwback. Like, and good hockey though. Like good hockey players, tough. Like it was. I remember I used to. Every team I went to, I'd always trying to get into one, right? Just to like, hey boys, I'm not just a goal scorer. I'll fucking fight if I have to, kind of thing, right?
You got to let the
So,
boys
but I'm
know
not
you'll do
stupid.
it. Yeah.
I'm not stupid. I picked my spots.
Mhm.
So I remember playing the first couple games I get there. Kid from Bramalea, Darren Hurley, who was kind of our heavy, tough guy. Played in Detroit in the O way back when, but he was a fighter. So first face off or whatever, I'm playing wing. I look at this guy. He's like 5'8", 5'9". I'm like, perfect, right? So face off, I'm giving him a couple in the chin and shit. He looks at me, shakes his head. Play goes on. Little ref or the skirmish in front of the net after the goalie stops the puck again. I'll get in his face. Like he laughs at me, looks at me like, fuck you, pussy, like whatever, right?
Yeah.
So goes on. I get back to the bench, sit down. Hurls goes, what are you doing, man? I'm like, I'm gonna mix it up. Hurls, he goes, not with him, you're not. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, that kid holds the fucking record for PIMS in the dub. I go, what? He's like 5'9". He goes, yeah, he's crazy. He's crazy. I go, huh. So the next shift, sure enough, I go there. I'm like, hey, how you doing, buddy?
Well, that was nice of him for not doing it then when you were asking for it.
Yeah, because he didn't want a murder charge.
Yeah. Yeah, I only won one fight in my life, and it was in Daytona Beach, Ohio. I did win one fight, punched the guy right in the mouth.
Yeah.
But most of the time I'd be getting punched if I fought. Yeah, but you got to show them
I
you'll
never
do it,
said
right?
I never said I won any. Just trying to get into a couple.
But so you enjoyed Basingstoke, you had a good time, and it was good hockey. And like what I liked after, I guess you'd been in Denmark, like the interacting with the fans. I loved my time in the UK because you could talk English with the fans,
Yeah.
and they understood what hockey was about. You know, they liked winning, but they
Yeah, it
also
was
would
fun.
have a pint with you. And
Yeah, no, it was. You know what? Well, there was no place that I didn't have like other than Finland because I didn't have a good experience there because I was sick. But like everywhere I went, the people were awesome, right? They're fans
yeah,
and they can turn on you a bit here and there, but that's fandom, right? That's I always say to
yeah,
people back here, the word fanatical, I get where it comes from. Living in Europe for 12 years or whatever it was, right?
that's very true.
Like,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
England was fun. I did have I was investigated or questioned by Scotland Yard,
About what?
a murder. True
Really?
story. So there was at our rank, there was a daycare or whatever. So the wives would come in and work out, put the kids in daycare while we practiced or whatever. So we're going to the rink. We lived in a village outside of Basingstoke, so you can imagine how small that was. So we're going to the rink one morning, and the road we normally take to get to the highway was blocked off with cop cars. And I asked what was going on. They said, "Oh, there's been a homicide," whatever they said. So by the time we got to the rink, such a small town. So what as it turned out, there was a guy that had ratted out the Detroit mob like years before and got relocated to Basingstoke. And in the pubs, he was shooting his mouth off about who he used to be.
And then they
So the
found.
Detroit mob. So they found a motorcycle right at the end of one of the pathways where the train came. We were on the day before going into London. The guy dropped the motor, knocked on the guy's door. The guy opened it. So the guy was shooting his mouth up at the pub, right? Who he used to be. The guy knocked on the door. Guy opened it, shot him. Drove his bike to the end of the path. Just left the bike there. Got on the train, back to the States. True story. So Scotland Yard now is coming around to all the houses to see if anybody's seen anything.
Yeah,
So they had to like separate me and my wife at the time and two detectives and like asking us questions if you saw it. Like it was crazy.
that is
And
crazy.
then Andre Rastico came and took my apartment, my house. I had a beautiful townhouse. Remember Andre Rastico?
Well, I had him written down because he played for the Kitchener Rangers, I'm pretty sure, when I was coming up as a young buck, and I was a big Ranger fan.
He's got a Stanley Cup ring with the Habs.
Yeah. Did he not?
He
I
would.
think he was a Kitchener Ranger.
He might. I thought he was a French guy. Well, he's French, but he definitely
I
has a
could be
Stanley
wrong.
Cup ring. He has a Stanley Cup ring. They call him Red Light Rassico when he was with the Habs, but he's got a Stanley Cup ring.
Yeah, he
So they
does.
bring him. So they bring him into Basingstoke, and I have this townhouse, beautiful townhouse in the village. So they're bringing in Red Light Rassico,
And they tell
and
you
they
you
kick
got to
me out of
leave.
get out of the townhouse.
That's not a good feeling.
Look, they called him Red Light for a reason. It wasn't like he was coming in
Yeah.
to get us to the promised land.
Yeah.
Luckily, my wife and kids had got home. But yeah.
Another guy that was on that team that I would say genes are a thing. Kevin Conway, his son is running amok of the UK league nowadays.
Is he?
Yeah.
Is he? Yeah.
Yeah, like top scorer in the league or something. One of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he's still over there, I guess. Did he stay? Or I guess.
Oh, I don't know them. I just saw the name and
Wow.
that kid's really doing her.
Did some research.
Yeah, research team's hot. So then, anyways, after Basingstoke, that is when you go to Bietigheim. How did you end up there signing the third league when they were putting together that great squad?
It was just my agent, the guy from Denmark, Bjorn Madsen, that I had for a while that JR had hooked me up with. Like I said, he got me that contract at the time, and it was for the second league. And but as it worked out, it was going to be the third league, but they honored the contract and turned out to be one of my funnest years ever.
Do you know another Canadian fella that went to Bietigheim and then never left? That was on that squad. Ken Philby. Are you
frozen?
He's a
lifer for sure.
Yeah. So that
no, am I?
Well, you're struggling, that's for sure. I don't know if we should pause and go back to the Wi-Fi, but
okay, pause.
Hey, pee. Anyways, we gotta take a pee break. Pee break. Oh, so Ken Philby, he was one of those fellas that was around the Bietigheim arena, all the time, and we would chat. And do you know his nephew was Rory McDonald, the UFC fighter?
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. He was like fighting for like
Kenny,
the title.
Was Kenny still around when you were there?
Yeah, oh yeah, we'd muck it up in the VIP room, have a couple pints. Yeah. So you played with him, eh? Because he was one of those Canadian guys. All of a sudden, some guy would walk up to you and speak English, and you're like, "Whoa, what the hell?" Yeah. So you played with him.
Him and Danny Held were really tight.
And those were the two guys still around. Yep. So then after that year, you go up to the second league, and you got Tim Leahy, Darren Ritchie, but the goalie, David Beletsky, was he not? He was the Kitchener Ranger guy. Was he not deaf?
No,
wasn't deaf.
It depends how many pints you had in him, but no.
No, okay. I thought maybe it was an away goalie. I remember being a kid and going to a Ranger game, and someone was telling me.
No, he was a little guy. He was only like.
I remember watching him. That was when the Rangers were good when I was a kid. Yeah.
You want to hear a funny Blitz story?
I do. This is weird you talking about this because I was the little kid going to the OHL game, watching him, thinking he was, these guys are so cool. I just took my kids to one of those games. Let's hear it.
I go to the Storm games with the girls sometimes. Yeah, it's fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Blitz is playing in the O, and he gets whatever pads he used, Bauer, whatever. He tells the story better, and he gets the giggles. It's funny. But he goes but back then, like the pads are so like think of our own pads, right? Like how better they are now or whatever. Like when I played, it was like leather and everything. But I played with a wood stick that was 110 flex when I played in Bietigheim. Think about that. Like what the fuck?
A wood stick?
Wood stick that was 110 flex. Bauer.
Well, I was using a 102 flex my day.
But I'm so weak too. It's like, what are you doing now? I use like I take Monahan sticks. Like he gives me sticks. So I don't want to pay for sticks.
Yeah,
he uses
that's
like
nice.
A 70 flex.
That's 6'3". Crazy.
He's a 6'3" NHL. It's like what?
I don't get it how they shoot like that.
So Belitsky gets these new pads from Bauer, whoever it was. Let's say it's Bauer, and he goes, "Teeps, they're so stiff, man. Like can't do it." So he goes, put them in garbage bags in my billets. And I put them on the lawn and I drove my Jeep over the garbage bag. He goes, he goes, mint. He goes, they were amazing. He goes, then all of a sudden, like 4 games in, the thread started going bing, bing, bing. All the threads started falling out. He thought he beat the system.
And then he drove over his pads and it didn't work out. Who would have thought?
Man. Yeah, who thought?
Oh
He's
gosh.
a goalie.
That first year was when Dirk played his first 4 games, so he would have just been the young punk. So then year 3 in Bietigheim, okay?
Yeah.
Robert Gratz is on your team?
Oh, Grazie.
So you want to know small world stuff for this one? When I blow out my knee, I go to Artima to get the brace and do my rehab. And Grazzi's the guy working there. He's the guy that like set it all up and stuff. And I got like my leg, the cast made to make the brace like custom made and everything. And they're into like, yeah. So that's how
I thought you were gonna say that he's the guy that ran India that blew your knee out.
He wasn't playing anymore. He was one of those guys that's around the rink, right? The hockey guys are always around the rink. He was always around the rink. And then I saw him there when they're making the brace for me. So that's what he did after hockey.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Just
he would just be giving her, eh? Just giving her.
Everywhere.
Wiry little fella, eh?
Not sure where he knew where he was going all the time, but he gave her all.
Giving her.
Hence why I asked if he ran into your knee, because
well, there's some guys you can play with, right? That like there's some guys 100%. That can be dangerous in warm up, like before the game, that are on your team, and you're like, you never have your head up, and I know you're a problem. I'm gonna stay away from you.
I played in the no Bucky and warm up era, so yeah. I know.
Oh, you have to know that. Another guy that I didn't know he played in Bietigheim, and I recognized the name, was Larry Mitchell.
Oh, Mitchie.
Yeah, so that guy, the reason I know him was I played who was I with that year? He was coaching Landsberg, Doug Andrus and the fellas, and he was like the agent of all his imports, and then they go tits up. He gets them all to the DL. He goes to the DL, and the team goes tits up. And it's like, why didn't I? How did they get him as
sounds like Mitch. Yeah, he was awesome, man.
Well, it seems like he's had a hell of a hockey career when you look at it. Yeah, he's still doing it.
Is he still doing it?
I think so. I think I looked.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's been in the game ever since, and he's been head coach of the DL teams and the full deal. So. Guys, everybody loved him though. I remember talking to Doug.
I love him. He's great. One of my good, I haven't talked to him forever, but yeah, he was an awesome guy. Burlington guy.
Isn't it? Another Ontario fella, eh? Yeah. Anyways, so what were your favorite things to do on off days in Bietigheim? Actually, hold on. Here's a better question now that I'm thinking of it. If you could only pick one, Christmas markets, the Feder Market, or Oktoberfest, or the Volksfest in Stuttgart.
Oktoberfest and Volksfest are third, fourth, easy for me.
Because
if I leave Toronto today, you're going to Oktoberfest, right? Like, it's just, that's the thing. That's the touristy thing to do.
Yeah.
Even Volksfest to a degree, not as much. But Fairdemarkt was so, you're like just in with the Bietigheim people, right? It's like, Hellbrunn has their own market, or every town has their own market. It's the same shit. It's a big tent. You slam the moss and you're singing songs and you're drinking pints and eating the things on the big bone. It's simple, right?
It's living.
100%. But every town. So
I would say Oktoberfest is fourth for me too. It's too touristy. There's too many people. It's not the real deal. It's like when you get to the Feder Market, you're going to a German one, right?
I want to say, you know what? Fairdemarkt was, I might say, a Christmas market, just because it's Christmas and you get the vibe and the Glühwein. And I'm not even a Glühwein guy, but you drink it anyway because it's
you
Christmas
do.
Market.
You got right?
Weihnachtsmarkt, and it's like,
well, and you got to stay warm, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Did you go to the Ludwigsburg one? Ludwigsburg had a hell of a
yeah.
That was that.
All of them.
People always wondered why I got fat in Germany, right? And then you get to all these places and you drink and you eat and it's all so good.
I couldn't get fat till I retired.
Really?
Yeah, I never got fat until I retired. I was a skinny fat guy, like healthy though.
Good for you. I got fat when I got hurt that year, and I like was all depressed, and all the boys would go on
Yeah,
all the games, and I didn't play all year. That was when I got like
yeah.
fat. Yeah. Anyways, Christmas markets. What was your favorite food in Germany?
Probably some schnitzel with some spätzle. Get
Yeah.
the old brown sauce on there, and
Brown sauce, get it on both. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're right. There's nothing wrong
no
with
doubt.
that. That's a good
Simple,
answer.
like it's that simple, right? I'm a
I
like
I actually just
my.
made that the other week there. I
I
did.
heard you have a spätzle machine or something. It's like,
Well,
what
it's
the
not a
fuck?
machine. You gotta like make it.
What do you
You
mean?
make
I
so
think you
you
said machine in the pod with Alfie.
well,
Or
no, it's
whatever.
like it looks like a cheese grater, and then there's like it's like a little square thing that sits on top, and you make the dough and you pour it into the little cup on top of the cheese grater, and you slide it back and forth, and that drops into the boiling water, and then that boils. Once it floats, it's ready. You take it out and then you fry it with all the good stuff, right? You can put your bacon and your onion in there. You can melt cheese on it, or you can just do the brown sauce, whatever you want, right?
Ohne Zwiebel for me.
Really? No onion for you.
No,
I'm a big onion guy.
yeah, no,
But you know what? Spätzle's a versatile noodle, man. You can do it with the brown
absolutely.
sauce. You can do it with the cheese
Borderline,
for
borderline potato.
well, you do it with the cheese though, too, for the kids, right? And
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah, then
Or
you
the
do
adults.
yeah, you do bacon, onion, and cheese, and then it's a full meal and it's on its own, right? Or you
Yeah,
do it as a
absolutely.
side. It's
Preaching to the
Spätzle.
choir, Wally.
I understand. Here we go. What do you think about Weisswurst? You like that?
No, not a vice
Really?
versa guy. No, no sauce. I'm not a sausage guy. Vice
Not even with
beer? Yes. Vice versa? No.
oh, I got kicked off the Weiss beer my first year in Germany.
No.
Landsuit
Yeah,
banned me.
I'm a Hefe Weizen guy through and through.
Really? Like you'll crush a
Oh
bunch of
yeah.
them?
I'll crush 10 for a joke.
Really? I can't.
Easy.
So in Landsuit, I was trying it and I was getting into it, and then they told me I was getting too fat and I was not allowed to drink it anymore. Um,
A good
so that
metabolism.
yeah, no, I
But
didn't
then you
have
get your
that.
buddies, but then you get your buddies come over,
Yeah,
try and crush 10 Hefe Weizen because they
they
think it's 10
totaled,
Coors Light.
totaled,
Oh, buckled. Yeah.
buckled. Yeah, no, it's like when you go to the Feder market and you're smashing mass, and then you're like, oh, this beer doesn't do anything to you. I'm having so much fun, and then next thing you know,
Yeah.
yeah, it can get away from you.
You can get away.
What would be your? Do you have a favorite German song? Mine is Joanna Du Geilsau. Do you
No, I don't have
remember
a
all the
favorite
songs
German
going on at
song.
the Fender
No,
market? God,
no,
there's some
no.
good ones.
Buddy, I'm
Wait,
52. I haven't
dude,
been to a fair to mark
you still
since
remember all your German though.
2003
I
or
know.
four, maybe.
Been a
Yeah,
while.
no,
I know.
a while. Yeah.
Well, you should listen to Joanna Du Geilsau. What a jam. Okay. So, anyways, after that, you go to Dusseldorf. That's a nice city, eh?
Buddy, yeah, it was awesome. It
Yeah.
was, but it
I'm
was one of those things. So go to the DEL, good contract, right? Like I'm like first contract I ever had that had like 6 numbers, but it was Deutschmarks, but it didn't matter. Like it was like
that's cool.
so it was cool. Like for me, it was like even though it's Deutschmarks, but it was like cool, right?
That's cool.
So they put me up in this house. So my Avery was only a toddler at the time. So we're living in this house up the Autobahn, like about 20 minutes outside of town. It was a gated house. Like there's a full house with a gate around it. You had to walk in. So they gave us brand new BMW. Like it had 3-4 kilometers on it. Like it was black, like not the like when we have the Bietigheim logos everywhere, like all the sponsors.
Yeah.
Just had like DEG on the bottom of the door. Like it was like nice, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm living this life, man. It's awesome. So I'm going to practice one morning because the gate. That's my point with the gated house because we could let the kids just go play in the yard, right? Like
Yeah.
so, Avery, who was like 3 at the time, she was born in nine. No, she was probably 4 or 5. Man, she was stupid. So I go out in the morning. She's sitting on the hood of my black Beamer with a rock, drawing on the hood, like
No.
doodling. Oh yeah,
No.
like I'm like,
No, that'd get you upset.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got
Yeah.
it fixed. Some fan fixed it or something, but I was like, it was
Fans can
just
be
like
helpful,
big.
can't they?
Yeah, they can for sure.
They're
Yeah.
they're they're
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
they're like friends. It's
Absolutely.
like if fans, friends, they're like the same thing. It's like,
Man.
and then you get to know one that does each different thing you need
Mm-hmm.
around town, right?
Yeah, but she was drawn on the hood of this brand new black Beamer 328 or whatever it was. It
Oh
was like,
dear. Yeah.
yeah. But
That's cool.
Dusseldorf was awesome, man. It was like I played with so many, like Andre Trefilov was my goalie. It was like we played the rebound game. Treffy played like he was in the NHL for so long with Buffalo, and like he had the NHL goalie. He was so good, Russian guy. And we played the rebound game after practice. We could never beat him. Like he was that good. It was like so many good hockey players I played with there. Neil
Um,
Eisenhut.
what one I put down two names I knew on that team, which one guy,
Okay.
other guy is Tim Leahy also went with you there, eh?
Yeah.
So
And then he stayed late
so
to
he
new, yeah.
comes from Bietigheim with you. That's cool. I always thought Big and Little Sexy should have gone to the DL together, but it never happened. We never played together again. But the one guy, I knew the name, so I checked out why I knew the name. Mike
Yeah.
Pellegrims.
Oh yeah. Pelly, yeah.
That punk was on Castle when I lost in overtime in
Yeah.
game
I think
5
he's
of
a
the
Belgian. I think
finals.
he's a Belgian guy. He was a
Well,
greasy guy too. Like
jeepers.
greasy playing. Like he's
Yeah,
but
sure. Whatever. I didn't know what you meant by that. No, I played against him in the finals. He was
yeah,
greasy.
he's a good hockey player. I think
Yeah, but
he
that
had more points than me.
yeah, but like he that Castle team, it was a joke in the second league how much money they poured into that team to beat us. And we
There's a
lost in overtime in the final game.
funny
But
story about that Dusseldorf. That was so I was there in 2002. The reason I remember that is because it was the Olympics. So we had an Austrian guy on our team. I can't remember his name. If I had looked up on HockeyDB, I could find it. But so he played on the Austrian national team that was in the Olympics in Salt Lake City. So he comes back from the Olympics, and he's got these Eastons, like the composites. So we're like, what are these? What do you got here? This is like Mars shit to us, right? He's like, yeah, it's the new sticks, blah blah blah. So he was a lefty, so I'm shooting like not my curve, whatever. I'm shooting in practice before now I'm using the 110 wood stick before. So he brings these back because they got them at the Olympics, and that was the first time the composites had come out, 2002. So the Easton rep comes in to the room after like a week or two later, and he says patterns and stuff. So I'm like, oh, I used the Lidstrom and I tweaked it a bit, blah blah blah. And he's like, yeah, no problem. He's like, it's going to be like 26,000 US, eh? Like what? He's like, it's going to be like $26,000 US to get your pattern done and stuff. I'm like, well, I don't think they're going to fucking pay for me. I'm just like some
right.
second, third liner. So he's like, yeah, whatever. So the Louisville guy comes in a couple weeks later. Like everyone wants these composites now because it's like you make your shot.
That
Like it was like
oh yeah.
it was crazy, right? But think about it at the time. I don't know how old you would have been at the time, but like it was like night and day. Like it was the only difference was you couldn't. I used to have to deaden them. Like I couldn't play with one right away because it would spring off my like a
Right.
pass would spring off. Like I didn't know how to control it.
It was different.
Um,
The thing that for
totally.
me was they were so rare to get and buy that I do remember getting one. It was in junior B, and I was so desperate to try one and have one. I bought a curve that was totally not what I would use, and I was brutal with it.
The Louisville guy comes in and he says I show my pattern and stuff. He goes, I said, how much is this going to cost? He's like, nothing. We'll just do it for you as long as you guys buy the sticks. So I got like a couple dozen. And then when I went
Pretty
back to
cool having
Bietigheim,
your own composite
it was
piece.
sweet. Yeah, the name, it was cool, right? So then when I went to Bietigheim the next year, when I went back, I said, these are my sticks. I want a dozen. So Dusseldorf had no problem paying, blah, blah, blah. So when I went back to Bietigheim, they paid for the first dozen. But the problem with the Louisville, which was the one Marty St. Louis used, I remember it was the yellow one, like it was yellow and black. And it wasn't the technology was good, but the quality wasn't great. So as a centerman, it would just break the toe all the time. So I was going through them like that. So eventually Bietigheim said, like,
You can't do
yeah,
this.
you're out. You're out. Get a stock one or like a stock Easton or
Yeah.
so
What
I went to the
that's what, like, when I went to the AHL and to Columbus and they make my one piece, I had to use CCM or Reebok instead of Bauer. So I send them a Bauer stick and they say they'll make it for me. I show up, they got these nice one piece with my curve. And every time the puck would hit the blade, it would snap in half. I couldn't use them.
yeah.
Yeah. Like literally the first time, as soon as the puck would hit it, it would just snap in half. That's the only time though I ever got my own stick made with my own name, and I still have one left, so I won't play with it because it'll break. um Other guy that played on your team, he was probably one of those young Germans at the end of the bench, not getting many shifts in Dusseldorf. Anton Promisberger.
Oh yeah, probably yeah.
He was one of the first guys to really be able to open up the hips, eh? You know, the duck feet, you know?
He wasn't too swift on his feet.
He was the guy as a D-man. He would always put his feet like the duck feet to try and break up the 2-on-1. Yeah. He'd put the two wheels together so you couldn't pass
he
it
was a
through him.
young kid. He came to Bietigheim after too, I think.
Well, his brother definitely did, but Anton I played with in Landshut my first year over there, and he was the first guy I saw with the snooze, right? So I go over there after college and all the fellas that are doing their school stuff, and then I get to Germany, and then he's one of the fellas on the squad, and he used the syringe, like they'd cut off the end of a syringe and then stick it into the can.
I might have did it.
I might have attempted it to see what it tasted like. Yeah, you'd use the syringe so then you wouldn't get like the dark fingers, right? Like all the fellas that would roll the balls up in their hands and have all the dark fingers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my memory of Anton, was that he was the first guy I saw with the syringe to put the snooze in. You know?
I do know, yeah.
Okay. So after that, then, so how do you decide to go back? Oh, you did tell me Dusseldorf to Bietigheim was because it was the same money to go back for 2 years, right? Do you know who your goalie was when you went back, though? Was the goalie I won the championship with, Silo Martinovic.
Oh, see, yeah. I'm thinking Fank was what that was for.
Well, there's two of them, right? But he did play a bunch of games that year. So I won the championship with him, and you know, he's got a bunch of kids and owns a restaurant in town now in Bietigheim.
Does he?
Apparently.
Did his brother end up playing there too, or?
I think he might have. I don't know. I lost track of Bietigheim there for a bunch of years until I got out the shed and got over things, right?
Hi, buddy, man. Jeez, yeah.
You know, they keep playing seasons, and they're like, and then if you get more invested in other teams and you got other things going on, it's like, how do you keep track of all these teams, right?
But it's some people, like, it's like some of the sponsors you meet and stuff, like I heard on I think you're talking to Alfie, it's like the Franks, like, just like, it's like people that you meet that are sponsors and not like teammates and stuff that you still talk to and like see on. Yeah,
did you say the Franks?
Like, Simone and
Marcus.
And Marcus, Marcus flying his planes and cool.
I flew a plane with him.
No way. The glider?
Yeah, we did that. Danny Held set it up. He was my coach.
Braver man than me, buddy. I'm not getting in a plane with no engine.
We made a day of it. Danny Held was the coach, and we went out there. And my parents were in Germany for this, and they got to go do it. And we all did the planes. But I went up with Marcus, and he had a real plane with an engine, and then we were up in the air, and he just shut it off. Like, we're up in the air, and he just shut off the engine. And then I'm like, okay, what's this about? And then I'm like, so he's like, look at this, blah blah blah. And he's like, hey, so I guess we'll get going again. And then he pulled out a checklist of like the 15 things to do to start the plane again. I'm like, you need a fucking checklist, and we're in the air right now with the engine off. And he's like, well, it's just what you have to do as a pilot. And I'm like, okay, like, turn it on.
Easy.
One more, right?
Yeah.
But that's cool. You know them too, eh? They were still around. My wife got close with Simone too. So
yeah, they were awesome. Yeah, see the kids in the swim bad and stuff. It was cool.
The swim bad.
The old swim bads.
I believe that's called the pool, right?
Yeah, the pool.
Anyway, so then how did you decide to shut it down? You said you had the kids and everything, so then you head back
Yeah,
home.
it
It was
was just
time.
one of those. Yeah, it was just you get to a point where it's you get hurt, but it's like it's the drive's not as much, and like I said, for me it was the kids more than anything.
Well, and
That
then the
just
other part though, right? We talked about the workouts over in Europe, and it's like sometimes mentally going through the summer and you're thinking about like what's coming in July or August. And you can't
yeah.
even, your mind is like messed up all summer because you know what's coming.
But speaking of the workouts, I don't think it. So when my first year
I
there, Tom Pokel was our coach, American guy, and Tim Leahy, the kid that bought the Porsche,
right.
who he's a beautician. Like he is. Oh my god, he's such a like. If you ask anybody that has played with Timmy Leahy, so he bought a Porsche, he got a free car, but like so he had a bad shoulder, right? So we're doing one of those crazy workouts preseason, whatever. I can't remember, and we're at the gym, and you had stations and this and that, and he's hung to the tits and whatever, and so someone's doing the bench, and it was his turn to do the bench. So Tom Pokel's got his whistle in the gym, right? Like blows it down, and he goes, "Wait, get on the bench." Timmy's like, "No." Shoulder. Like it was just like, no, I'm not doing it.
Oh man.
Oh,
So,
buddy.
some guys back in the day when it came to working
Oh,
out, they would just be
I'm
like,
telling you, yeah.
there was a whole different mentality than what it's like nowadays, isn't it?
Last elastic band theory, remember?
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and it's like everybody is so into as much ice time as they can get, as many workouts as they can get. It's like, geez, you gotta love the game to want to do it,
Yeah.
right?
It's different now, and but kids are brought up different than we were
They
too,
are.
right? I know
Oh
I'm older
yeah.
than you, but you were still more my vintage than you are the new vintage, I think.
I'd agree with that. Yeah,
Right? Like,
I was right near the end of that.
yeah. So it's like it's the kids now, like I look at my son, like in lacrosse and school, like they work out all the time, but it's different workouts, right? It's all core shit and
Well,
fast
and it
twitch
makes
muscle
sense for
stuff
what
and
they're
all that.
doing, and it makes them
For
better
sure,
at
yeah.
it, right? And it's
Yeah.
not like
Yeah.
there was a lot of punishment workouts we would have.
I think my point is that I think it's whatever you're brought up and whatever you know is what you know,
Yes.
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
I'd agree with that.
So
Yeah. So after you do shut it down, and you head back, it is a strange thing, probably that flight back with 3 kids. Because I had the flight back with 2 kids and a wife that couldn't work in Canada because she was American. And I'm like, okay, this is all on me, and I got no work experience, and she's go time when I get off this plane. And then it took a while to figure some stuff out, but it's an interesting plane ride back, isn't it? When you're like, so that it's all over now.
yeah, it was like I prepared myself for it, I think, beforehand. Like I knew that
You
it
were
was done,
ready.
and it was always for me, my kids always went to German school
Yeah.
up
You
until
were almost
March
looking
break.
forward to it then, eh? Because you always talked about missing Halloweens and stuff, and
Yeah, 100%. Like that was kind of my motivation. Like that was kind of like my self thought was like it's not going to be as bad because I have this to look forward to, which was true, but it kind of lessened the blow in my own mind, if that makes any sense.
yeah,
But I never had this. So every year, my wife would take the kids back um, after March break or during March break to Canada to put them in Canadian
yes,
school, so they would have some Canadian school still.
yep,
So they went to German school till March, and then she would go back. So then I was Han Solo for the
yeah,
last couple months, which
yeah,
was a shame.
yeah, yeah. No, and I
Was,
know other fellows that have done that.
so,
Greg Schmidt, Shed guy, did the exact same thing,
yeah,
but it also had
the
something to do
wise,
with keeping the health cards in Canada, right? You couldn't be
yeah,
gone
that
more
wasn't our
than.
motivation, but it's probably true.
Yeah,
But
it
we
was
just
definitely
wanted to
part of
keep
it,
them.
but yeah, like you
So
got to
yeah, so
go
my
to English
last
school if you're going to be English, right?
yeah, so when it was all said and done, I was by myself actually. Like it was like me flying back by myself. I didn't have the family with me, but
Right.
yeah, it was
That's a different
yeah,
experience
it
too,
was
then. Because when I flew back, my daughter threw up on me the whole way back. And I was like,
My
wow.
oldest daughter threw up every flight when we landed. It was crazy, man. Crazy. Oh,
So when you did go back, though, you did play some matches for the Cambridge Hornets.
oh man.
Was that you
What a
had the
few
itch
weeks
to
that was.
play again or what?
No, so go everything comes back to James Richmond, the guy in Mississauga with the Steelhead. So he
And how
was
did you originally know him?
just Toronto guys, like just he's older than me, but just we knew so many same people, and
Right.
he was one of those guys that always looked out for people and got guys to where he thought they could go, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like he got a
that's
lot of guys
cool.
to Europe and stuff. He's one of those guys, right? And he's become one of my best friends to this day. I was just down at a Steelheads game last week. He got me tickets. It was just one of those guys that just
Sounds
a
like the
good
type of
guy.
guy you want running an OHL team, right?
Yeah, and he'll be. I think he'll be an NHL coach. He's had offers to be NHL assistant coaches and stuff, but he's a head coach guy. Like that's his
Yeah, it's a
mentality.
two
Not in the
different things. Yeah.
100%, and that's just his. Not in a bad way that he couldn't be an assistant coach. That's just his makeup, right? He's a head coach
Yeah.
kind of guy. But he was calling me. I did not want to play. I didn't play men's hockey for 2 years when I retired.
Yeah.
He's calling me. He's like, so Cambridge Hornets, the senior AAA, they needed to win their last 4 or 5 games to get into the playoffs. So he calls me. He's like, yeah, Teeps, we're loading up. I'm going to give you $100 a practice, $150 a game.
You get paid to
And we're
practice.
Well, I was supposed to. Let me finish the story. So that was the deal. Not that they weren't going to pay me. So they bought me a bunch of sticks. So they're making a run. So this team that I was playing on in Cambridge. So JR was we had a coach, but JR was like the player head coach. We had so a few guys I played junior with were there. They played in the O and stuff like that. We had Gilbert Dion was on the team.
Yeah.
Steve Rice was on the team.
Yeah.
Like NHL guys, like that are my age that I knew, like but they're like legit NHL guys, right? So
Yeah.
they brought these guys on the team. My buddy Chris McKenzie, who lives in Indy, they were flying him in. He had a cup of coffee in the NHL. They were flying him in to play. So we started waxing teams. Like we won the last 7 games. Now we're in the playoffs against the Dundas Real McCoys were the biggest team. And we were playing against, forget the team we were playing in the playoffs against. We played 1 game in the playoffs. Then my buddy Mike Manuel that I played junior with that lived in Acton, and I was coming from Orangeville, we used to meet up and drive out to Cambridge. So we get to Cambridge, and the boys are like, yeah, we're kicked out of the league. I'm like, what? I'm like, yeah, we're kicked out of the league. I'm like, what do you mean? So we went over to the bar by the Cambridge Arena there. It's not there anymore. I forget the name of the bar. So we go sit there and we start swailing pints. Like, what's going on? So it turns out they lodged the guy on the board of directors was the GM of the Dundas Real McCoys and found out we are flying guys in and paying guys this and paying guys that. So they kicked us out of the league. So we forfeited the playoffs. That was my senior career right there.
And that's how it ended.
And I never got a cent. I had to beg them to pay the sports store in Bramalea to pay them for the sticks they bought me. They did.
Well, that was nice of them to at least pay
That
for the
was nice
sticks
of them,
that they
yeah.
paid
But I
for.
never got a cent. I was like, so I'm up to about $1,800 right now.
Yeah, right.
Never got a cent. But it was fun. Like it was the practices, like good bunch of guys. Like it was just hockey guys, right?
No, and that it would have been fun to be back around the game a bit, right? For a few weeks, right?
I didn't even, yeah, but it was one of those things. It was so close. Like it was, I just retired. I'm like, I hate hockey now. In my mind, I'm like, I'm telling myself I hate hockey. I don't want to play.
And I was the same. I hated hockey too
Right?
when it was over.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
the jaws are back in. So that was my Cambridge Hornet story, man.
Well, no, that's
short and illustrious.
Yeah. So, but you did find your way back into the game, and it's interesting to hear your story because I after I hated it too, and then I did end up playing for those 2 playoff drives with the Ripley Wolves, and it was being around a team again, being around a group of dudes again. I didn't want to actually play the games. I wanted to play the playoff games. I wanted to compete and be on a team, but like the regular season games, like those fellows would be going on the road to wherever to play a game. and I just want to be home with my kids and not be a hockey guy.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I wanted to play the playoffs, and I understand that's not the way it should be, right? But being back on a team, and it brings you into a community, right? I'd moved to a new town. I met so many dudes and so many people that I go to that arena last night, and I know almost every person in the arena and by now, but it's because of hockey, right? And it's weird to think that we hated it when we got back, but it's just the way it is.
Yeah. Drags you back in.
And then you get dragged back in. So then after the Cambridge, how did you get dragged back in? Was it with your kids coaching?
Yeah, so I coached my son all the way up to midget. Yeah, and then I coached junior for those years
So
too.
what teams are those? Like, are those like AAA teams, single A?
Yeah, he played for the Mississauga. Well, he started in Halton, the Halton Hurricanes and novice, and then he played for the Mississauga Rebels.
Okay.
VTHL. Up until Bantam.
Are you the head? Are you the head coach of all these teams?
No, I was assistant coach. My buddy that I played junior with, who still coaches in the G, Lucky DeGrazia, he was the head coach. So I was assistant coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it was fun. Like it was.
No, I love it. I love coaching the kids, man.
It was so intense, though, right? It's like I had to learn because I was so in my competitive mentality. Even though it's AAA and it's like the GTHL, it's like
just
slow back a bit, bud. Like
yeah, we do have that.
So I caught myself a couple times. Yeah, coaching in general. I love. Like I had JR asked me to go to Mississauga with him when, at the time, I was working at General Mills at the time. He wanted me to come and coach with him in the O, but I was like, yeah, for sure. And he's like, but you got to be here like all day, like video and this and that. And he was like paying like 30 grand or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I can't do it.
Yeah, no, you're right.
But even coaching tier 2, like it was like we coached. Well, I was watching the Leaf game tonight. Evan Rodriguez, we coached in Georgetown. He's played in the show. Scotty Wilson won a Stanley Cup with Pittsburgh. We coached him in Georgetown with the Raiders. Like there's stories like that are cool, right?
Right, and you get so invested in the guys you coach, and you want to see them do so.
Yeah,
but and then there's people in the hockey world that are invested in their own interests and invested in getting themselves further, and then what I call them shed guys are the people that want to see people succeed and do well, and I think that's what wins stuff, right? And that's why there's so many dudes that have got their jerseys retired that I know is that they weren't in it for themselves, and they all just can't believe that they're getting their jersey retired, but it's because of who they were and how they were a teammate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, hockey's a microcosm of life, right? Like it's just like you meet so and you can weed out's not the right word, but it's like, good people when you meet good people.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Right? Yeah. It's that simple. Like you can meet someone for the first time. You're like, he's a good dude or she's cool. And it's just, people that put up your radar usually are people that you're like, and that's it. Right. So and hockey affords people, like I tell, like with my ex-wife, with my new wife, it's like sports are so important, I think, just because it teaches so much in life, right? It just teaches about life. Like it's just teaches leadership. It teaches overcoming adversity. It teaches how to deal with someone as a coach. Like it just,
and
everything, right?
And like I find it interesting too, is like through your hockey career, every team you're on, you have a different role, right? It's like when you're the 22-year-old guy in rookie, you are the young guy bringing the fun and bringing whatever. Some guys bring stories, like of what went on the night before because they're the young guy. And then there's the old guys that have the kids that are supposed to be the leaders and show people what it's about and how to do it. And then you got the guys in the middle that, and like every year you're a different guy on that team, right? And it's like you have to figure out if you're the third line guy, the first line guy, and you have to learn how to be on that team to help them win and figure out how to help that team win. And it's not about you, it's about everybody, right? And the people that play sports and hockey know that. And there's
That's
people
the
that
point,
never
brother.
did it.
But that's the point, brother. Sports brings out life lessons that you can't
Yes.
teach in school. You can't sit
No.
in the classroom and learn where you fit in a team, where you
Right.
how you lead in a team within your role. You don't have to be the top guy in that team, but how can you lead? Like, how can you?
Yeah.
School doesn't teach that, right? So that's why sports. It doesn't have to be the highest level sports.
No.
Team sports teach that, right? So it's
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's awesome. Yeah.
And yeah, that's I hope my daughter's playing hockey again. She's right into the gymnastics too, but I think it's like each sport's different and each sport has different culture, right? As
Yeah, for sure.
being on a team with all these girls this year and seeing them come together, and it's like, man, it's so cool. And like I think of my buddies I grew up with, and we still have all these memories, and we see each other, we talk about the trophies we
Yeah,
wanted, we talk about all that stuff. And it's like, man, I hope you have that, right? It's like,
absolutely.
yeah.
100%, buddy.
Mhm.
100%. Yeah.
Well, anyways, the reason I wanted to have you on was because, Bietigheim meant a lot to me in my life, my wife, and um, we were there for 4 years. A lot of great memories. And when I see a guy, I didn't know anything about you. When I asked you to come on, other than I saw your name was retired. And when I think Justin Kelly, Dirk Robel, and Renee Schoafs are the other jerseys retired, I'm pretty sure I know what type of guy you're going to be because I know what they're like. And Bietigheim's retiring the right jerseys. They know what they're doing. But then you're kind of from the city, right? For me out here, but like you're a guy that was kind of under the radar in the whole deal and maybe didn't get the attention. And then to see you did well, you excelled in everywhere you went, and then you end up getting your jersey retired in Germany and nobody can wear 19. That's pretty cool. It's a hell of a career you put together, sir. And I know sometimes us hockey guys, when we get back to Canada and it's over, we don't really get to talk about it, and sometimes people don't want to hear us talk about it. So I wanted to hear about your career. So thanks.
Thanks, brother. No, it's awesome, Wally, those words are cool. And you're right. It's like you say fly under the radar, but I was always a fly under the radar guy personally. Like whatever comes with editing is cool, but you don't look for it. And the stats, like I said before, man, the stats I got 9 times out of 10 was because the guys I was playing with. You can attest. You play with, it's like
It's
the guys you
this,
played with, right? It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's yeah. But thank you, appreciate it.
Well, thanks for coming on. It was great getting to know you. And that's what I love about this is now I got another buddy in the hockey world that I would have never known. It's cool.
Absolutely, buddy, and always be buddies, man.
That's right.
Invite me to the shed one day.
Hey, you're always welcome in the shed. You can come back anytime. Maybe we can get some other fellas back on. Maybe get you and Elfie on together, right? Really stir things up. You never know. There's lots to
I'm
talk
down.
about.
I could be down with an Elfie podcast
Right?
together.
That'd be fun. And we could get all sorts of Bietigheim Steelers on. And why not?
Yeah,
We
I'm
could.
down. If you get Timmy Leahy on, that'll be a good one too.
Well, you got to let me know
Oh
how
yeah,
to get a hold of him.
I'll
See,
get
shed
I'll
guys
get
know shed guys, folks.
shoot me a message. I could get you. I'll get you Jr. on. I'll get
Oh,
you.
see,
You get some
folks,
good ones.
fun is fun. And people thought I was going to run out of guys, right?
Yeah, no,
Or
you
gals.
can't. It's like you can't run out of guys when you're
You
a hockey
can't.
guy. You can't.
You
It's
can't.
impossible.
No, it is.
It's impossible. I was
It
going to
is.
talk a couple stories today, and I ended up talking about 10 because
No,
the
well,
one brings up the other one.
and
It's
it
like,
keeps coming. It keeps coming. And then all of a sudden you're like, so I could do that solo with him. And then you could talk to him again solo about different stuff. But then you could bring on
100%.
other guys he's played with. And I'm like, geez, I got a lot of ideas.
Oh yeah, easy,
Yeah.
man. That's
Okay.
so easy.
I
All
know.
right, Wally.
Okay. Lovely getting to know you, sir. This has been another
You
episode
too,
of Two
brother.
Ales and Hockey Tales with Teeps and Wally.